gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Mullet Mike Hardcastle with you here, bringing you it's a Turtles Band-Aid, Creepy Gaming. That's right, folks, this is the show where we take a look at all kinds of creepy video game aspects over the years. It could be Easter eggs, it could be a creepypasta, might even be a scary game review. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum. Alright, so it's no secret, I love giant monsters. Can't help it, alright? I love Godzilla movies, I love all the Toho properties, I love Gamera, I love King Kong. I can't help it. It's just my kind of thing. So, that being said, today we will be covering none other than Godzilla NES Creepypasta. Got a lot of requests to do this, so this one's for you guys. Well, without any further ado, turn the lights down and the volume up as we journey into some creepy gaming. And for you, I've had about enough of your shit. So what's scarier than an incredibly strong, indestructible, fire-breathing monster? I'll tell you. How about a giant, incredibly strong, indestructible, fire-breathing monster? Yeah, I'm talking about the 300-foot, standing in at 100 meters tall, the kaiju king, the king of the monsters himself, Godzilla. Or as us Westerners know him better, as Godzilla. You know, guy in a big rubber suit, destroying miniatures, bad dubbing, all that kind of good stuff. He might not have been the first, but he is what sensationalized the Daikaiju genre. Kaiju meaning monster in Japanese. Godzilla first appeared in cinemas in 1954 and has been thrilling audiences ever since. Being a self-admitted film snob, I grew up watching movies like King Kong and the original Godzilla, inspired by the visual art itself. Needless to say, I am a huge kaiju fan, terrible pun intended and all, but basically put, I'll be referencing a lot of silly named monsters, and if you're not a Toho fan, then you might get a little lost. But I will try my best not to fanboy out and just keep it simple. Even if you aren't a kaiju fan, I think most gamers would appreciate this disturbing story. In 1989, due to the rejuvenation of the pop culture phenomenon, Toho released Godzilla Monster of Monsters for the Nintendo Entertainment System. I remember getting to rent this game when I was just a wee lad. At the time, it was amazing. You just kinda had to make the best of what you had. Unfortunately, over time, this game hasn't aged very well. It's like any Godzilla game, though. If you're a kaiju fan, then you tend to be a little bit more forgiving. I'm actually fortunate enough to own a boxed copy of this game. It's pretty cool, really, but the only thing I don't understand is why is it called Monster of Monsters? What, was King of the Monsters taken? Like, you got the Godzilla name, but you can't call it King of the Monsters? It's Monster of Monsters? What does that even mean? Monster of Monsters. It's the king of the monsters. What the fuck? Anyway, I digress as usual. The gameplay is your basic side-scroller where you play as either Godzilla or Mothra, the guardian of the cosmos. Playing throughout space, each level involves you fighting kaiju from various other films. Pretty cut and dry. Now, would you be surprised if I said there was a creepypasta written based on this game? Of course you wouldn't! You wouldn't be watching this after all. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who comment, the real video starts here, you should just go ahead and comment. Go ahead. As a matter of fact, let me save you the trouble and just give you the time code. Here, a few years back, a story was written about the Godzilla NES game. A tale unlike any other. A lot of people have suggested and requested this episode, so this one's for you folks. The truth is, the only reason it's taken me this long to make an episode regarding the Godzilla NES Creepypasta is, well, because I've already covered it. Yeah, that's right. years ago as a matter of fact, myself and fellow compadre Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers overanalyzed the hell out of this story. I'll even leave a link in the description if you want to check out our in-depth discussion. But for today, consider this more of a creepypasta recommendation rather than a creepypasta reading. It's just not my style. I haven't covered this because I felt like I said everything that I needed to in that series of videos. But that was years ago, and my opinion has since changed. This story stuck out to me immediately. Why? Well, because this tale is broken down into chapters. Yeah, it's that long. Rather than a short story, this is more like a novel. There are C.S. Lewis books shorter than this. You can tell there was a ton of thought, time, and effort put into it. Chapter 1 is really kind of what you would expect from this type of story. The Godzilla NES Creepypasta is told from the perspective of a gamer named Zachary. He is given a Godzilla Monster of Monsters cartridge from his buddy. This is a nice touch. I like the idea of how it's a cart rather than just some ROM or ROM hack. Zach claims that the game worked fine, nothing out of the ordinary, except when he got to his first fight with Godzilla. He claims the screen began to glitch up. Zachary began to see all these red pixels appear. So rather than keep playing it like most characters do in this type of story, Zach uses logic. He turns off the game and blows into the cartridge to clean it. Hold on, let me clean this real quick. Okay, it's been a while. So Zach restarts the game and he gets past the first level without any issues. Once he begins the second level, Mars, he notices Titanosaurus, who had been in Godzilla films, but not in this game. At this point, Zach's not complaining. He thinks that he has some special version, or maybe even a developer's copy of the game. It is not until he fights Godzilla again that the same red glitch returns. Zachary says himself that he, quote-unquote, foolishly ignored the glitch. He goes on to his battle with Moguera, but notices the classic kaiju is twice the size it should be. Once defeated, Moguera began to disintegrate pixel by pixel. Like myself, being the kaiju fan he was, Zach found this more awesome than creepy. He had played this game and he knew it wasn't supposed to be like this. Again, this had to be some kind of special edition cartridge, right? He proceeds to fight Titanosaurus, the kaiju that wasn't originally in the game. He was a bit taller than Godzilla, which is strange, but since he was bigger in the movies, the kaiju fan enjoyed it. He appreciated the attention to detail. Now, in the real game, after the second stage, you're supposed to go to Jupiter, but instead the player noticed he was being sent somewhere called Pathos. Now, what I'm about to tell you wasn't in the creepypasta, but if you know me and you know this series, then you know I always like to dig a little bit deeper. I wanted to find out the meaning of the word, and to my surprise, I found out that pathos is defined as a quality that evokes pity or sadness. Interesting. Now, those of you familiar with the story know that this is only the beginning of Chapter 2. Yeah, like I said, there was a lot to this one. So, Pathos looked just like the Jupiter layout, but with a dark blue hue. It was on this overworld map that he discovered Biollante as the stage's main boss. But wait a minute, this game came out like in 1988, whereas Godzilla vs. Biollante didn't come out until a year later. What? When playing the first stage, he noticed that there were no enemies, no obstacles, just this dark red planet in the background. After breezing through the level, he tried one of the orange cave stages. To his dismay, he noticed a pile of tumorous eyes. Zach claims that this strange music began to play. Now he's starting to get a little creeped out. Seemingly out of nowhere, enemies appeared in this stage as Matango spawned, swarming all around him. Now, if you've played the real game, then you know they tend to recycle the same kaiju for each level, typically with the addition of one or two. So Zachary had to have a rematch with Godzilla once again, as well as Mogera. But this time, things were different. So Zachary had to have a rematch with Godzilla once again, as well as Mogera. Rather than the classic kaiju we all know and love, both appeared different, as these strange-looking creatures. Zach claims that not only were the sprites different, but their fight patterns were as well. After finally defeating the strange kaiju, he went for Biollante. Again, strange that Biollante's movie wasn't out yet. Zachary rationalized this as some sort of Easter egg from Toho, or maybe teased the monster's upcoming film debut. Either way, he eventually had to defeat the plant creature. He was then taken back to the overworld screen. This time, no music, just a new icon in place of the base. And since the base was the only real way to continue on, Zachary moves his Godzilla icon over the disturbing red tribal face. This is when the story really begins to get good. Once starting the stage, he saw a fiery, hellish background. Only one word appeared on the screen: run. It was then we were introduced to the infamous demonic creature simply known as Red. Zach soon found out that he must run from this demonic kaiju. He had never seen such a creature before, nor have I. This was not in any Toho film, this was a brand new creature. Since he only had a one-word instruction, he decided to follow it. He tried outrunning Red, but Red just kept getting closer and closer to him. He eventually gets past him and past the level, which brings us to the next part. We left off with Chapter 3, Trance. I made a point to leave off here for two reasons. One, Red just made his first appearance, and two, what you've heard of the Creepypasta is really just kind of been status quo. Some might even use the word cliched. But Chapter 3 is where things go off the deep end, and I like it when things go off the deep end. We last left off with our residual Creepypasta gamer Zach, after his friend gave him a Godzilla Monster of Monster NES cartridge. He played a little bit and noticed that monsters from other Japanese kaiju movies were appearing in this version of the game when they weren't in the original. When he begins the level, now named Trance, he notices another change to the overworld map. This time, a question mark appears. Zachary moves his Godzilla icon over to it and found something he wasn't really expecting. A quiz. Yeah, a quiz. Where is this going exactly? I've read a ton of Creepypasta in my day, and this isn't supposed to be how it goes. A quiz? When does Godzilla come out of the screen and kill someone? When do we find a bloody kaiju plushie? What? A quiz? Really? A quiz? It's almost like this was an original idea or something. So, Zach is asked if he likes dogs, I guess. This is where the face comes in. Depending on Zach's answers, one of the following faces would appear. And for those who've never played the real Godzilla game on NES, then believe me when I say this isn't in the game. And no, I am not making this up. This is really how the story goes. I told you, deep end. But this is nothing, especially compared to Red and all the other creepiness. This was just more strange, more original. But the weirdness doesn't stop there. Chapter 3 continues, much like the previous two, but this time Zack must fight a slew of new kaiju. These disturbing monsters had never been in any Godzilla movie and definitely were never in this game. The new demonic kaiju appeared, rotted, distorted. Some would even say mangled. There were no more attempts at rationalizing this situation. Zack knew something was off, especially when he discovered Orga. Much like the creature Biollante, Orga was in a Godzilla movie, but strangely not at the time of this game's release. Zack tried to explain off Biollante. His film debut and the game's release were close enough, but Orga? He knew the alien Orga did not appear until Godzilla 2000. Might I remind you, this game was released in 1988. That's nothing, though, compared to what Zack was about to witness. As each chapter went on, stage by stage, map by map, Zack saw these bizarre level layouts and a plethora of never-before-seen demonic creatures. Some of the distorted kaiju returned, like Not Magara. Most were variants. Zachary didn't know what disturbing imagery he might see next. There was only one consistent, one guarantee, one certainty that the gamer knew he'd face at the end of each stage. He knew Red was never too far behind. This creepypasta was great at delivering new minions and monsters. There was even a cool new kaiju that I really enjoyed named Solomon. But now, it's time to talk Red. Growing up a Godzilla fan, I always wanted to see a formidable foe for the king of the monsters. I mean, come on, how many times can he fight King Ghidorah? While rereading this creepypasta, I had realized that I had found that formidable foe in Red. You see, typically in a Godzilla film, a new monster is discovered. Godzilla rises from the ocean and defeats his enemies with ease, for the most part. There's typically a scene in the second or third act where Godzilla is taken down or weakened, but he always rises from the rubble to secure his crown as king of the monsters. I guess that's one of the more disturbing aspects I found in this story. I have never seen Godzilla in a more vulnerable position, in a film, game, or any form of media for that matter. Compared to Red, Godzilla for once seems like the underdog. Never mind. Red is brilliant. Red's just badass. Have I mentioned how much I love Red? Red. One eerie aspect I love about this guy is in the same vein of other Japanese monster movies. He evolves. That's right. Just like Mothra in her larva form, or even Shin Gojira, Toho's most recent Godzilla film, Red doesn't just have one grotesque form, but many. He has his spider form, there's his flying form, I don't know, his devil form. He's kind of like Destroya, but more terrifying if you can believe that. And okay, I gotta do this. Sorry, James, it's for you. Destroya! Look at that face. How would you like to be gaming one day and this guy just pop up randomly in whatever game you were playing? Although not the only redeeming aspect, Red was definitely the main aspect, as well as the centerpiece to this creepy story. Red is the backbone of this eerie tale, and the spine in which the shivers run down. Oh, Red. That's not necessary. This creepypasta has a lot of really good moments. Weird locations, distorted enemies, awkward events like the face quiz. I've been covering scary gaming stories for years, If you've been watching me for seasons, then you know I typically don't like creepypasta. I just cover them because my viewers ask me to, and after I do, I might accidentally like it. Some are good, but others are as cliched as a slasher flick. Yeah, I know, I typically don't like creepypasta, but hey, you gotta give credit where credit's due. Does this Godzilla creepypasta have some of the common tropes from various other tales? Of course it does! It takes these things in order to make a gaming creepypasta. The fact that this story has chapters and plenty of media to go with it helps it stand out against the rest. It has a narrative, an actual story arc. While strange and at times maybe a bit pretentious, Godzilla NES is one of the better creepypastas I have ever read. Believe it or not, after reading the final chapter, I was actually, dare I say, disturbed. Now, I do apologize if you thought I was going to tell you the whole story, but if you watched part 1 as I said you should, I clearly stated this would be more like a creepypasta recommendation. So yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for you. I've already been trying hard enough not to spoil anything for you guys. You should really check it out for yourself. It's worth it. I really explained myself last episode when I said that Mudahar and I had already covered this on his channel, and since then my opinions had changed. The link will be in the description of this video as well. A lot of people still requested this for an episode, so I had to give it the creepy gaming treatment. Again, as a recommendation, go check it out. Part of the fun of this story is the slow growing tension one feels from reading chapter to chapter. Oh yeah, so you probably want to know how my opinion has changed. Well, I enjoyed the story then, don't get me wrong, but now I appreciate it. And as a writer, I respect it more now. You see, when we first covered it, everyone, myself included at the time, was in a craze to see if we could find a true, real-life gaming creepypasta that actually happened. Back then, I was more into debunking the myths. Now, I am more about appreciating it for the entertainment that it is. In my typical research for this episode, I found the original author. Known on the internet as Cosby Daff, this guy will go down in creepy gaming history for his epic creepypasta. His writing, his recreation of classic kaiju, as well as all new monsters like Solomon and Red, all worthy. I tried to reach out to him. I like to talk to the author if I can, but I never heard back by the time this episode went into production. I don't think most people would find it strange, though, that Cosby Daff currently works as a pixel artist, which would explain the amazingly creepy images that accompanied the story. So, there you go. Creepypasta explained. You can tell this wasn't just thrown together overnight. As I said before, there was a lot of thought, time, and effort put into it. Hats off to Cosby Daff. You're still the best! I don't know for sure, but from what I understand, a playable version is currently being developed. But I've been hearing about it for a while, so I don't know what its current state of development is. In closing, the Godzilla NES creepypasta brought a lot to the table. The story is about 10 times the length of your average creepypasta. There's plenty of media to go with it, video, images, or otherwise. Cosby Daff had to be a fan of the Daikaiju genre like myself. He paid homage to Toho Studios and created his own creepy creatures. You could tell this was a major passion project. I encourage that. It doesn't hurt that I genuinely felt disturbed after reading it. And to me, that's what creepy gaming is all about. Well, thank you all for watching, but in the meantime, I'm going to have to do something with this little guy. He's been getting on my nerves. Get in there, those. Well, I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all enjoyed the Godzilla NES Creepypasta. That's probably going to do it for me today, folks. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I am Mullet Mike on full screen saying, keep it sticky, stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, freaks and geeks, trolls and derps alike, welcome. Welcome all. I am Mullet Mike with the Splatoon Gaming Network and Full Screen, bring you Creepy Gaming. That's right, folks. This is the show where we talk about all kinds of creepy video game aspects throughout the years. It could be scary Easter eggs, it could be a creepypasta, it might even be a scary video game review. You just really never know. Today, we will be covering none other than Splatoon. That's right. And I know what you're probably thinking, especially if you're unfamiliar with this show. How could these cute little inklings be so creepy? Well, you're gonna find out. Trust me. With that said, let's go ahead and get it all out of the way. You know what time it is, folks. That's right, it's showtime. So, turn the lights down and the volume up as we journey into some creepy gaming. Oh, Nintendo, with your cute characters, magical adventures, your family-friendly fun, the extremely inappropriate Easter eggs you put in kids' games, you know, there's really a... Wait, what was that last one? Yeah, that's right. One of the major founding fathers of the video game industry have always put these creepy little Easter eggs in their titles. I've covered several of them on the show, as a matter of fact. Such as, I don't know, Hell Valley Sky Trees from Super Mario Galaxy 2, the Re-Dead from Legend of Zelda, Ica Village from Animal Crossing, the weird Kodama Ghost from Super Mario 3D Land, more disturbing Pokemon than you can possibly think of. You get the point. Nintendo has always had their stable of characters and games, but every so often they introduce a new intellectual property. Such is the case with 2015's Splatoon. Before it came out, fans were skeptical, but were quickly won over after the game's initial release. I'll even go as far to say that it revitalized the online shooter for me personally. If you were going to tell me prior to Splatoon's release that this would be a better gaming experience than, I don't know, say this, I would have thought you were crazy. But it's true! Splatoon's turf war dynamic really added to the fun and goes to show that it's okay to take a risk and change a formula every once in a while. But honestly, we will not be talking about the multiplayer as much as we will focus on Hero Mode, which is basically the game's main single-player campaign. After getting several recommendations for this title, I couldn't help but ask myself, what in hell.exe could be so creepy about this? Well, if you played the game, then you may be familiar with the Sacred Scrolls. Each time one is collected, you begin to learn more and more about the world in which we're living in. Unfortunately, the world that we are living in is our own Earth. It's even been said that Inkopolis is really Japan. That's right. The beautiful, colorful, peaceful world of Splatoon is set in a post-apocalyptic Earth after man's extinction. Oh, come on, Nintendo, really? Did you really have to include that little detail? Why didn't you just call it, like, I don't know, Octopussy World or something? You know, actually... These Sacred Scrolls even show the remains of a human playing a Wii U, as well as the evolution of the Inklings, and even a religious look at Adam and Eve-like squids. I can't believe I just said that. I never imagined saying such a sentence in my life. Anyway, this strikes me strange, especially considering how strict Nintendo has been on any religious symbolism. At least over here in the States, anyway. This is nothing, though. Just wait. It gets darker. Oh yeah, you're damn right it gets darker. In quote-unquote hero mode, you play as an inkling. You know, these little lads and lasses. Inklings. That's another thing. Why aren't they called squid kids? Anyway, I digress. You play as an inkling, fighting level through level, boss by boss, to rescue the great Zapfish, which is basically a power source from, again, quote-unquote, evil Octarians. So why are Octarians so evil? Because the game tells us they are. Because story, that's why. I mean, I understand this isn't really that deep of a game where you must question one's motives, but still. And why am I saying all this? Well, because it has to do with the genocide theory that I'll be speaking about later. But first, a truly disturbing Easter egg. I'm not the first person to bring this up, nor do I claim to be, but I definitely thought that this was creepy gaming worthy. After the boss battles, if you wait and stay in the boss chamber, you will eventually hear some strange sounds. When I first heard it, I wasn't using headphones and honestly just thought it was an ambient background track. And it is, but of what? The first thing you hear is metal clanging or falling from a far distance. Well, we are in a factory setting, so nothing creepy there. But if you listen just a little closer, you may hear these disturbing screams and cries of pain. Special shout out to Yellow Thunder 1712 for providing this amplified audio version. They've helped me in the past with other weird Nintendo titles, so check them out. Their channel will be linked in the description below. Since I suck at audio editing, this amplified version should help you hear it a lot better. Oh, also wear headphones if possible. Stick around till after the clip and we'll discuss it more. And I'll also explain how it ties in with the genocide theory. Here we go. Oh, Nintendo. We're gonna have a talk, Nintendo. So, am I the only one asking, what the fuck? Yes, the metal clanging is nothing, but those moans, those screams, those obvious cries, what are they doing in a family-friendly Nintendo title? What's the deal, Nintendo? Are you trying to ruin childhoods? Don't answer that. That was a rhetorical question, by the way. This is where it gets even darker. If you can believe that. Since the discovery of this disturbing Easter egg nearly a year ago, theories began popping up, possibly explaining what we may be hearing. Much like me not trying to be the one to claim to find these scary screams, I'd also like to be the first to say that I am not taking credit for this hypothesis. This genocide theory has been around for a while now. Several other YouTubers and gaming sites have reported on this. It's really quite simple too. The theory goes as such. The Inklings and the Octarians are at war over the Great Zapfish. They're fighting over a valuable power source if you really think about it, much like real life war. According to the theory, the Inklings are wanting to completely wipe out the entire Octarian race. According to sources, the screams you hear is basically the extinction of the Octarians, while the clanging metal is meant to be their infrastructure collapsing. Damn. Now that's heavy.
Heavy.
I should note, this theory came about when players believed that these strange sounds only occurred during the final boss battle, which would further the theory. But gamers have since discovered that these disturbing cries can be heard after most boss battles, if not all of them. So, are we looking a little too much into this game? Yeah, probably. But regardless of the theory, one cannot deny the deliberate eerie Easter egg in this kids game. Those screams are there. The game alone is fresh and fun, enough to earn it a spot in video game history. But because of the possible genocide theory and the undeniable scary sounds from the boss levels, Splatoon has done more than enough to go down into creepy gaming history. Well, I think that's going to finally do it for me today, folks. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for supporting Season 6 of Creepy Gaming. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share this video for more creepy gaming. Hi, I'm Mullet Mike with the pedal and full screen saying, stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Peace. Time for some more turf war. You damn right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, freaks and geeks, trolls and nerds alike, welcome, welcome all. I am Mullet Mike with the Pedal Gaming Network and Full Screen, bringing you Creepy Gaming. That's right, folks. This is the show where we take a look at all kinds of creepy video game aspects over the years, including this guy. It's kind of turned into a seasonally tradition to have at least one type of Mario episode. So, for Season 6, we will be discussing none other than Super Mario World's I Hate You. No, wait, not like I Hate You, like that's just the name of the title. But anyways, let's just get right down to it. Turn the lights down and the volume up as we journey into some creepy gaming. I'm so dizzy. Oh. It's no secret that Nintendo likes to put scary little Easter eggs in their games. But could they have inserted an entire level hidden deep away, informing us of a dark revelation? This is what we will be discussing today. Mario needs no introduction. I've covered several Mario titles throughout the years. I think I've said all I need to of how he came about. The game we're talking about today is Super Mario World, the Red Plumber's first forte on the 16-bit Super Nintendo. Most people have played this game, both casual and hardcore gamers alike. If you haven't, then definitely go check it out. It delivers great platforming and a lot of fun. Just whatever you do, if you ever find a level called Oh God No, then do yourself a favor and maybe just go defeat Bowser instead. The story of I Hate You has been passed around the internet for years now. I was familiar, I had heard about it, and I saw that there were quite a few videos on it, but I never watched them. I never really read the official story. I guess it just kind of flew under my radar. That being said, I have gotten a lot of suggestions for this, so this one's for you guys. Thanks for being patient. Now, if you're familiar with the series at all, then you know I tend to find these stories pretty cliched. I'm not going to read it all word for word, rather than just give you a nice summary, but I do want to read you the opening in its entirety. The writer states, and I quote, "This isn't one of those haunted game stories. At no point are you going to hear me claim something within the game spoke to me, reacted to my words, or forced me to punch myself repeatedly in the face. No, this isn't about a haunted game, or a game doing something impossible, or even something it shouldn't have. This isn't about a glitch, or a hidden satanic message, and at no time did I phone Nintendo headquarters only to have my questions answered with hushed whispers or anguished screams. This story is about a game feature I don't think anyone else has unlocked. That's it. No ghosts. No conspiracies. Just a secret we were all supposed to find, but never did. Something that changes an entire generation's childhood and the very essence of a multi-billion-dollar franchise. This is about what I assume to be a previously undiscovered alternate ending of Super Mario World." End quote.
Alright, more of that. That's what I'm talking about. Good hook.
This is what stuck out to me the most. Rather than going the cliched route, the writer establishes immediately that his story was a different kind of experience. No video game characters coming to life, no cartridge with black marker written on it, not even a plushie.
Well, I was going to use this as a gag or something, but it's fucking worthless now!
The player claims to be a master of the Mario arts, beating the ROM on his emulator multiple times. After a while, he got bored, turned on Game Genie codes, and began to randomly explore this game. This is when it began to get strange. In the sunken ship stage, the writer noticed what he called the blind boo. There have been ghosts in Mario games, so there's nothing new there. But this boo literally did not have eyes like the sprites normally do. The person playing also noticed a misplaced key and keyhole. This is the part of the story where the writer tries to rationalize everything. Maybe the ROM was faulty or glitched. Plus, gamers familiar with Super Mario World know about the special world after beating Bowser, so this isn't too far-fetched really. After unlocking the mysterious portal, the writer claims he was taken to the screen. A new path opened up, and once there, the level's name appeared as Oh God No. So, naturally, he plays the eerily titled level, and guess what? More strange things happen. The whirlpool drags the player to an underwater castle. After entering, the writer claims he went down what felt like an endless corridor until eventually running into some more blind boos. He said that the ghost sprites didn't even move. They just lingered there, very creepily, as the writer describes them as almost hypnotizing. Next thing you know, BAM! A bloody bullet bill out of nowhere. Haha. It reminds me of a troll game. Anyone else getting Mario EXE flashbacks here? It's ironic because a lot of people get these two stories confused. But Mario EXE and Mario I Hate You are two different things. And there's another titled just Mario. Anyway, I digress. The writer remembered that he had access to game genie codes, so he enabled invincibility. Once in God mode, the player was able to surpass Bloody Bill only to find the disturbing message of I hate you. They were then chased down by a group of big boos, but the writer claimed that they looked different. They looked more sadistic and evil.
Okay, that right there is why I like creepypastas that have some form of media. I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but really, look at like Ben Drowned. It had all the video footage to go with it. Look at something even like what me and Mutahar covered, like Godzilla NES.
The writer then noticed another bloody message. Why won't you die? It was almost as if Nintendo programmed this into the game and didn't expect that players could one day get past it. The writer claims to find a green pipe in which to exit. Once through, the player was immersed into a water level. He had to pass through some thwomps, but they were covered in pixelated blood. Once past them, the writer had to swim through a spike zone. It was here where he saw dead Marios impaled on the spikes themselves. The writer feels like this was showing the carelessness of how we play games and the multiple deaths of what we unintentionally see as an expendable character. It is then these zombie Marios are resurrected and begin swimming toward him. Making it out as fast as the writer possibly could, he eventually made it to a red steel door, which is typically the entryway to a boss fight. Oh, and he saw this strange looking mushroom, to which the writer said, "I ain't touching that shit!" Okay, so I might have paraphrased a little, but it was actually closer to that than you may have thought. The player enters the boss lair and at first didn't notice anything strange. That is until he saw something peering in on him from the distance. Huh, that looks familiar. Where have I seen that before? Oh my god! It's them. The Kadama. The woodland spirits. The Hell Valley sky trees. Whatever you want to call them, one cannot deny they eerily look similar to this shadowy figure. This, my friends, is what made the story really stand out to me. I began to do my typical creepy gaming research because I wanted to know when this story first surfaced. Was this written before or after Super Mario Galaxy 2's release? Remember what the writer first said. He didn't think that there was anything paranormal. The writer thought that this was an alternate ending that was programmed by Nintendo. And considering their track record, it wouldn't really surprise me at this point. This is where things get even stranger. Throughout my research, I tried looking up I Hate You on the official Creepypasta Wikia, which is basically like a collective anthology of all sorts of creepy internet stories. To my surprise, the story had been deleted. And this is a pretty well-known tale, mind you. Not just that, but this creepypasta had been removed not just once, but several times. This made finding the original author and the date it was written nearly impossible. So I went to YouTube to find the first videos regarding this disturbing story. My buddy Mutahar released a video in September of 2013, which was one of the earliest videos about it that I could find. but the official Creepypasta wiki states that I Hate You was first removed on December 2012, nearly a full year before Mudahar's Creepypasta reading. So again, I was wondering what came first, the chicken or the Easter egg? The story or the Kodama Easter eggs from Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Super Mario 3D Land? Well, upon further research, Super Mario Galaxy 2 was released in 2010, with 3D Land following in 2011. And because I can't find any evidence of the story dating before December of 2012, we can't know anything for sure. So while trying to find the original story, I eventually found it on the Trollpasta wiki, which is strange to me. For those who don't know, Trollpastas are intentionally silly stories, usually ending in a laugh or two. I don't know about you, but I don't get that vibe from this tale, alright? So if I had to guess, I'd say the writer's seen the Hell Valley Sky Trees from Super Mario Galaxy 2, and then decided to add one to his story. Either that, or that is one creepy coincidence. So when we left off, the player noticed the strange shadowy figure in the background. It is then we get a true revelation, an interesting fan theory that, fake or not, was pretty intriguing. We find that Mario's own sibling, tired of living in his brother's shadow, Luigi, reveals that he has helped kidnap the princess repeatedly in hopes of killing Mario. Thus is why we've seen the message, "Why won't you die?" After a short battle sequence, Mario regrettably defeats his brother, crying afterwards because his hand was forced. When Luigi fell into the lava, we see why the stage was named Oh God No. After this, the writer said that it took him back to the world map and everything was relatively the same, except after he viewed the ending credits once more. Rather than the typical The End screen with a happily reunited Mario, Luigi, and Princess, he saw this. That concludes this chilling tale. I should note, someone made a ROM hack depicting the events of this story. You should check it out. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to play it for yourself. From what I've gathered, some people really do not like this story, but personally, I did. And those of you familiar with creepy gaming know I'm not that big of a Creepypasta fan. Were there some cheesy moments? You bet your ass there was. Was it creepy? Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it now, doesn't it? Sure, there were elements of the story that were disturbing in a cliched way, but what really creeped me out was the idea that this could possibly happen. As I've stated before, Nintendo has a record of placing creepy Easter eggs in their games. Now, do I think they would actually go to this length? No, probably not. But the Hell Valley Sky Tree was a great addition to the story, and really made me second guess if it could be real or not. Even if this is just a fake Trollpasta, I say because of the disturbing imagery, the Kodama connection, and the well thought out Luigi revelation, I Hate You has done more than enough to go down into creepy gaming history. Now, before I go, I'd like to close with a powerful yet creepy passage from the ending of the I Hate You Creepypasta. And I quote, "None of this was a glitch. None of it was a mistake. It wasn't a developer getting back at Nintendo, and it wasn't a ghost haunting a Nintendo cartridge. It was a planned, purposeful part of the Mario Brothers mythos. End quote.
Well, that's going to do it for me today, folks. That's going to do it for Useless Plush Mario here. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Creepy Gaming. Be sure to subscribe and like for more. I am Mullet Mike with the bell saying, stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Peace. God, I haven't done this in so long. I sure hope I don't forget. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, freaks and geeks, trolls and derps alike, welcome. Welcome all. I am none other than Mullet Mike Hardcastle, bringing you Season 6 of Creepy Gaming. That's right, I ain't going anywhere yet. I'm still here, folks, and I still have a lot to say. Today, we will be covering Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. Oh, I'm just kidding with you. Today, we're going to be covering the Phantom Pain. Today, to kick off this awesome season, we're actually going to be wrapping up something from the off-season, if that makes any sense at all. What it is basically was myself and Mutahar worked really hard on a certain particular episode. And that episode was none other than Metal Gear Solid 5. Well, thanks to the good people at a company that will not be named, we were not allowed to show this 40-minute episode because of copyright claims. These copyright claims had slowed down production, and we couldn't give you, the viewers, what you wanted to see. But now, we can. So after several disputes with this company that shall not be named, we fought to the victor goes the spoils. That being said, I'm happy to present to you today the Metal Gear Solid 5 episode of Creepy Gaming. And that's it. And once we get done with this, that's it. No more Metal Gear Solid. We'll be done with it. It'll be over. Finally. God, I still got it. Can you feel that? Feel that? Season 6 is going to be my bitch. Alright. So, it is with great privilege and honor that I can finally bring you this masterpiece that myself and Mutahar worked on. We truly hope you enjoy. So, all that said, get your pizza, get your party hats, get your big old tub of popcorn, because the show is about to begin. The season is about to begin, and it will be unlike anything you've ever seen. So turn the lights down and the volume up as we journey once again into some creepy game. We've got a lot to talk about in this episode, kiddies, so go ahead and get your leftovers ready, because there's going to be a lot to this episode. Metal Gear Solid 5. Or V, technically. Boy, there's a lot to say about this game, and honestly, I don't even know where to begin. I guess I could start by saying that there are several other Metal Gear games not numbered, such as Metal Gear Rising, Metal Gear Acid, Portable Ops, Ground Zeroes, and Metal Gear Peace Walker. If you still haven't played Metal Gear Solid 5 yet, and you want to, then I strongly suggest you play Snake Eater, Peace Walker, and Ground Zeroes first.
Yeah, I can see why some people find the series convoluted. Chances are, if you're watching this, then you already know, but for the uninitiated, the Metal Gear Solid series is basically broke up into two separate stories. There always seems to be a theme of two in each of these games. There is one storyline that follows the character of Solid Snake, and another following his father, Naked Snake, aka Big Boss. Both storylines are great in my opinion, but it can be confusing as to exactly which Snake you're playing as and in which order. Now, something I eventually learned about the series is how polarizing it is amongst players. There seems to be two major generalized groups of people who enjoy the Metal Gear Solid series. There are people who just enjoy the stealth gameplay and they tend to find the cutscenes too long or find them being shown too often. The other admittedly generalized group, which I guess I would fall under, would be those who really don't mind the cutscenes and enjoy getting lost in the story's narrative. Well, good news for those who fall under the first category, because Metal Gear Solid 5 is for you. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the game, but it was definitely more of a casual gameplay experience compared to the previous installments. The gameplay seemed a bit repetitive and the cutscenes are few and far between, but Metal Gear 5 was still an entertaining entry. That was probably my only gripe about the game. Well, that and the ending. Or lack thereof. But we'll get into that later. I don't want to spoil anything just yet. So don't worry, spoiler free until I say so. The game is set years after the events of Ground Zeroes, when Big Boss wakes up from his coma. You've been hid away by Ocelot and company in a European hospital. In the opening prologue, you learn that punished Venom Snake, yeah, that's what they actually call him, has not only lost his left arm, but has shrapnel lodged in his skull at times resembling a devil's horn. Later, the doctor explains that someone is after you and you'll need reconstructive facial surgery. The face you design ends up being your avatar for the newly launched Metal Gear Online. Now, if you saw my first episodes, then you may remember me saying that while fantastical at times, the world of Metal Gear Solid usually remains in a realistic tone. Well, the opening hour of this game throws all of that out the window. All I have to say is giant whale of fire devours helicopter. Enough said! Yeah, that actually happens. That would be a great segue into the creepy aspects of this game. A few years ago, the original teaser for Metal Gear Solid 5 was shown. At the time, the only title that was revealed was The Phantom Pain. In typical cryptic Kojima fashion, the teaser shown was really vague, showing scenes of the opening prologue with zero mention of the Metal Gear Solid title at all. Much like he did with PT, Kojima created a faux game company entitled Moby Dick Studios. Kojima must have really been into the story at the time because the codenames Ahab and Ishmael are used quite regularly. As a matter of fact, when the hospital is under attack, your mystery savior introduces himself by saying, "Call me Ishmael," which is the famous opening line of the novel Moby Dick. I know, not exactly creepy, but interesting nonetheless. What's creepy was the game's original teaser. The Phantom Pain? What is this? Because the teaser almost portrayed it as a survival horror game of sorts. Well, leave it to the good people of the internet, because within 24 hours, speculation began running rampant over this possibly being the next major installment in the Metal Gear Solid series. Now, joining me today is a very special guest, but no stranger to the show, Mutahar from Some Ordinary Gamers. Now, as I've stated, there is so much to talk about in this game that we've decided to join forces and tackle this beast of a game together. So what we're going to do is Mutahar will be covering various eerie theories, and I'll be covering scary Easter eggs and creepy characters, and we'll just kind of go back and forth. Alright, Muta, welcome back to the show, my friend. What you got for the creepy community?
Well, thank you, Mike. As far as theories and speculations in Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain go, it's pretty intense, let me tell you that. I have not seen that many theories from any other games, but, well, with a lot of people dedicated behind the real truth of the game, so to speak, there are plenty of theories out there, but we're going to really consolidate them down. For example, the first one we have to look at is Portupia. Now, what Portupia is actually a classic MSX title. Developed by Chunsoft, yes, Chunsoft, those exact same people behind Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, and NX Productions, before, they merged with Square. This game was released in the 80s, and it was actually titled the Portupia Serial Murder Incident. Now, that's actually an adventure game designed by Yuji Horii, and it was released, again, initially in the NEC PC 6001 in 83, and later ported all the way to a lot of many platforms out there, even mobile and some family computers too. So it basically was a game that, again, played out like an investigation, sophisticated, and what you would have to do is you have to solve by searching for clues, explore areas, and solve a bunch of puzzles and everything. Now, it was actually a relatively darker title. It was open world, and it actually was sort of like the LA Noire back in the day too, with that, obviously some of the key, features missing. It was an ambitious game for the time, a very good point-and-click title. Now, the weird part about it is why I would even mention an MSX game being tossed in, totally different from Metal Gear Solid 5. The reason I'm mentioning this is because game data miners, on the PC version specifically, have looked around the Ground Zeroes game, have looked around Phantom Pain, and have seen that the Portupia game actually exists in parts throughout the game's files of Metal Gear Solid 5 across both of the games. And the last little bit of the Portupia, file that we have to look for is actually not even available yet, it seems. As far as some modders speculate, until Metal Gear Online is released on PC, we won't actually see the results of the Portupia case. In fact, when that comes, we'll actually see the final tape, which is actually hidden across parts of the game. And this isn't just a standard tape that was cut up and just split into the game code. No. This actually has different header files to it, which means that it was actually a ROM hack created by the people over at Konami or Kojima Productions to, really put this in. So there was actually time and effort went behind actually modifying, or creating a ROM hack, rather, which kind of would have been, which was actually, if you think about it, a very interesting development story, I guess you could say, for people just working on the project told that they'd have to make a ROM hack and spread it around in game files. Now, was this coincidental? Most likely not. But is it interesting? Well, yeah, because as far as we can tell, the game really does mirror a lot of the similar aspects to the Metal Gear Solid 5 story and characters in some of the way it exhibits itself. So for the fact that this exists, it's actually really nice to see why this would be tossed in. In fact, Kojima did, look at the game with high regard as well. So the idea of having that, in the game itself is actually rather interesting, and why it would be there, well, we don't know yet. And until Metal Gear Online hits the PC side so data miners can look around all they want, we won't actually know how this one turns out. It's interesting, and, well, it's very interesting indeed, let me tell you that.
Now that's just fucked up. And creepy. See why I got Mutahar on here? Moving on from theories for a quick second, let's talk about some creepy characters. In the prologue, we are introduced to two supernatural beings. The man on fire and this guy, who I originally thought was a girl. Huh. Whoever they are, they look awfully familiar. He wears a gas mask and has telekinesis. Huh. Either way, these two set the tone and let you know that you are in for one dark journey. Mutahar has helped shed light on one eerie theory already and still has another mind-blowing one coming up. We've discussed some creepy characters, but let's move on to my personal favorite subcategory. Let's look at some disturbing Easter eggs, shall we? If you've been watching the show, then you know now that series creator Hideo Kojima loves to sprinkle in plenty of Easter eggs. Some cute and harmless, like the birthday cutscene. Others, a little more dark. Located in the jungles of Africa lies a small camp. You can access it easily in Mission 20, ironically titled Voices. Nothing too out of the ordinary. That is, unless you listen to the radio in this particular tent. If you listen closely, you will hear the radio transmission from PT, Kojima's now cancelled Silent Hill project. There's even a theory that the two games were supposed to correlate with one another, that PT was really a form of Snake's PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. It's an interesting thought, but we'll talk more in depth regarding various theories here in a minute. Back to these creepy radio Easter eggs. I've actually visited this tent later in the game and heard an entirely different recording. Rather than hearing the news report of the man killing his family, I heard these strange, distorted, demonic sounds. From what I understand, there are several radios throughout the game that actually play other PT sound cues. Nice touch. So, let us now all take a moment of silence for the now defunct Silent Hills. Another creepy aspect is that of Venom Snake himself. As I previously mentioned, the game gives you a remarkable amount of freedom. That freedom entails what kind of character you'd like Snake to be. You can go in and play a stealthier, more noble game, rendering your enemies unconscious, or you can go in guns blazing, ready to bathe in the blood of your adversaries. If you choose the latter of the two, Venom Snake will eventually turn into Demon Snake. His face will begin to resemble that of an actual demon, with the blood no longer being able to get washed off and the shrapnel beginning to look more and more like a devil horn. This is shown more predominantly in later cutscenes. Either way, I thought it would make for some good, creepy gaming. Speaking of other creepy characters, Skullface is the game's lead antagonist. Disturbing appearance aside, it is Skullface's actions that make him a true monster. He is so unpredictable and his motives are questionable. Just like Kojima's fascination with Moby Dick, I can't help but feel that he was inspired by another classic work of art, The Phantom of the Opera. And I'm not talking about the musical, I'm talking about the original novel by Gaston Leroux. Skullface's appearance is just like that of the Phantoms in the book, even down to the black mask. Besides, it doesn't help that the word phantom is used hundreds of times throughout the game. All that aside, much like the bosses from the previous game, Skullface has his own team of goons known as the Skull Unit, or the Parasite Unit. See what I mean by the theme of two? I don't know what to call anybody in this game because they all have multiple names. These eerie super soldiers are creepy as fuck and even harder to kill. They arrive in the form of mist. Their silhouettes can be seen in the distance. Their attention seems to be triggered by the slightest movement, so it makes sneaking past them even more difficult and nerve-wracking. It doesn't help that they can be so damn difficult to kill, too! It's okay, though. It's okay. It's nothing some good old CQC can't fix. Alright, so we've talked about some more creepy characters and a few disturbing Easter eggs. Let's now discuss some more theories and touch on revelations. I told you I'd warn you, we've gone as far as we can without digging into spoiler territory. So, official creepy gaming spoiler alert. If you've not finished the game, stop right here unless you don't care about spoilers. So, the big revelation in this game is that you're not even playing as the real big boss, but rather a double if anything were to happen. Yeah, the real Phantom in this game is Punished Venom Snake. I'm not going to brag or say I saw this coming because I didn't, but the game did give me plenty of clues that something wasn't quite right. Remember the reconstructive plastic surgery from the game's prologue? Yeah, that was to make your face resemble big bosses. Also, when you replay the mission at the end, a voice can be heard saying V has awakened. So that explains why the game is titled Metal Gear Solid V, not 5. And no, V doesn't stand for victory like Kojima has recently said. V stands for Venom, as in Venom Snake. Fake Snake. Fake. We'll just call him Fake. To me, this just didn't feel like a Metal Gear Solid game, and maybe this is why. Mutahar is about to elaborate more here in a second. Personally, I have mixed feelings about this. On one hand, I think it's a brilliant plot twist. You can tell it was really thought out for the most part, but on the other side of the same coin, it kind of felt like a cop-out. Almost like a cheap plot device that really didn't add all that much to the game. I'm so torn over this. This is no lie. Muda and I have talked about our thoughts and feelings on the game literally for hours. It was during one of these great discussions that he introduced me to a truly eerie theory. Alright, Mutahar, I know there's a lot to this, so I'm giving you the floor, my friend. It's time for some minds to be blown.
Well, thank you, Mike. The next theory, and probably the most controversial of all, has to be the VR theory for Metal Gear Solid 5, implying that the events of the game, to an extent, are entirely handled over virtual reality. Now, there's many reasons why many people don't like this theory. A, it completely devalues the story of the game, and I'm not saying that the game has no real-life elements to it. Yes, there are points where this game has reality to it. It is a part of Metal Gear lore. It's stupid to say that it would not be. In fact, there are many interesting elements in this game that were revealed and do make sense as the course of the story progresses. When you get to the ending of it, when you progress further than that, you obviously know that this is a contained story within the Metal Gear universe. Now, one cannot deny the fact that there's a weird element about the game. First of all, for a game where the main character, Snake, doesn't actually talk as much as Snake in the previous games, throughout the different renditions, whether you're looking at Solid Snake, whether you're looking at Naked Snake, every Snake has had multiple times of monologuing and multiple hours of talking on many different, topics throughout the game. So for Venom Snake, Punish Snake, Naked Snake, Big Boss, whoever you want to call him in this game, to not really have any dialogue is weird. I mean, does Kiefer Sutherland charge by the, word? I have no idea. But the fact that Snake in this game never really speaks is kind of off-putting. In fact, the entire game is really off-putting. The idea of something so big such as Diamond Dogs to exist, one of the biggest private forces, and never to be mentioned in Metal Gear games later, even as a passing, Metal Gear games in the chronological spectrum later, makes no sense. Now, from a development standpoint, of course, you can't really talk about Diamond Dogs in Metal Gear Solid 1, and while you may be able to bring it up in 4 or Metal Gear Rising, it really wouldn't make sense. Maybe the story is made, as time goes along, maybe it's looked into more, but as a whole, the idea of this huge private force existing is never being mentioned is just really weird. Even if you look at Metal Gear Solid 1, and all spoilers aside, when you look at 3 characters such as Psycho Mantis, who actually turns out to be the child with the gas mask and the psychic powers in Phantom Pain, and you look at Liquid Snake, who turns out again to be Eli, and Ocelot, you notice that this triangle exists in Metal Gear Solid 1, but the reactions and the associations to each player in that game seem far different than what they really should be. In fact, even if you progress through later on in the games, none of this ever gets mentioned, even though every character aside from, again, Solid Snake knows the truth behind it. Ocelot knows the truth. Liquid, to an extent, knows the truth, because Liquid was involved in the Diamond Dogs unit. You also have to look at how the game is laid out. Again, this is a VR theory. There are certain dialogue segments given from Ocelot which actually point this to being a VR, such as pull him out. It specifically sounds like it's so close to the S3 program featured in Metal Gear Solid 2. If you look at this game with Metal Gear Solid 2, you can actually see the S3 program and the events of Phantom Pain serve a nice parallel. The idea of both is, if you really look at it, they basically serve the same purpose with an entirely different method, whereas Metal Gear Solid 2 relied on technical prowess to recreate Snake, right, through artificial cloning. You have to look at the characters Raiden and Venom Snake. Both of them are taken out of their element and implanted somewhere else, given almost the same variables. For example, they are given this exact variable to become what they are set out to. I mean, even given the code names such as Snake, here you have Venom Snake, over there you are directly, Snake at that point being referenced to as that, being put in nearly the same sort of headspace, the same environments, whereas over there it was a recreation of Shadow Moses. Here you have this whole ideology where you are a snake. You are put into it, you are in a coma. You have been brought to a point in hypnotherapy where you believe you are Solid Snake, not Solid Snake rather, but Big Boss, right? The legend. You believe it. You have the past mission memories in your head. And despite having some muscle difference, despite, going through all that, you are almost a 99% clone, so to speak, of Big Boss. In fact, if anything, when you look at it, Venom Snake is the best of all of them. This is the best character. This is the best Snake that we have. Where Solid as Snake is good. This is Snake down to a T. As you play through it, you notice, if you really think about it, this is the best rendition of Big Boss that could be captured. We have to fucking go into FOBs and in the online metagame and fucking steal nukes so we can get all the FOBs on our fucking platform down to zero. I mean, all the nukes gone to zero or whatever. I mean, that just seems way too convoluted. And let's be honest,
okay, man.
I don't really see that happening for a while. But there are many theories,
it's okay.
many theories in the Metal Gear Solid 5 universe right now, and to be honest, this game kind of deserves it. It's one of those weird games that is just locked in this fugue state, I guess you could say. I mean, it is a Metal Gear game, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like a Metal Gear game in terms of how the story is revealed. It feels like Metal Gear Light when it comes to the storytelling. But that being said, it's still a good game. It's just kind of unfinished, I guess you could say. But that being said, Mike, that was the theories on Metal Gear Solid 5. I know I've been kind of all over the place, but this is a game where you're all over the place, literally, of the theories, and you're also all over the place with, well, how the story is really portrayed out. That being said, back to you.
Wow. Just wow. Now that's passion, folks. See, I told you there was going to be a lot to this. And don't be sorry, Muda, for being all over the place. I get it. There's a lot to this, and as you said, the game really is all over the place. The possibility of the entire game's events being VR sounds like it could be a very plausible theory, and I do find the strange parallels between Liquid and Raiden. He definitely brought up some interesting points. So, you pretty much have to question everything in this game. What's real, what's not. And wait a minute. Did he say that was Psycho Manus? Holy fucking shit, it was, wasn't it?
The Phantom Pain. More like the Phantom Pain in my ass. More like the Phantom ending. Hell, there is no ending.
And I didn't even begin to talk about Colonel Volgin from Snake Eater being the man on fire, or one of my favorite characters in the game, Quiet, and her relationship with Fake Snake. We could obviously talk about this shit all day. What can I say that we haven't already? This game is a hot mess. The gameplay is great, but the lack of ending, obvious cuts and edits, the conflicting tone, the repetitive missions, the mangled narrative, the entire missing third chapter. Besides, I feel Muda said it best. It just doesn't feel like Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, I'm sure it has a lot to do with creative differences between Kojima and Konami, but still, it's safe to say I have a love-hate relationship with this game. Parts of it are brilliant, while others are just lacking. Overall, I enjoyed the game for the most part. Don't think that I didn't. I just think the bar has been set ridiculously high when it comes to the Metal Gear Solid franchise. As far as the creepiness goes, though, it's pretty damn strong. You've got creepy locations and characters such as Skullface and Psycho Mantis. There are several strange Easter eggs, the mind-blowing plot twists, and a plethora of eerie theories.
I could talk about Metal Gear Solid all day long. But since Hideo Kojima's departure from the company we shall not name, I think this is a good place to kind of shut it off. I mean, he was the heart and soul of those games. He was what made them so good, so charismatic, made the characters so deep, made the story so strong, and made the games just so damn creepy. So, this one's to you, Kojima-san. Thank you for all the entertainment you brought us, and we look forward to what you got in the future. But as for the company that shall not be named, fuck them. That's going to do it for me today, folks. I hope you all enjoyed. I am Mullet Mike with the saying stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Season 6. Peace! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, freaks and geeks, trolls and derps alike, welcome, welcome all. I am Mullet Mike Hardcastle, bringing yet another episode of Creepy Gaming. For those unaware, this is the show where we talk about all kinds of different creepy video game aspects throughout the years. It might be scary Easter eggs, it might be a creepypasta, it might even be a scary game review. So I gotta be honest with you, I was already working on a different episode of Creepy Gaming until I got a recommendation for this game, started playing it, and I literally stopped what I was doing on the previous Creepy Gaming episode to make this one. Now don't get me wrong, I'm still going to finish the other episode as planned, but I wanted to bring you something very special. So, this is an official Creepy Gaming special, and you will see why at the end of the video. Special shout out goes out to one Adam Purley. Thank you so much for recommending this game. I've enjoyed this game more than you can possibly imagine, and you knew I would too. So, that being said, I hope you all enjoy what I'm about to show you, because it gets crazy. Like, really crazy. Oh, I haven't been this excited to bring y'all a Creepy Gaming in so long. Now again, I don't want to build it up too much. I don't want to, get your hopes up about it. So I'm just going to shut up and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. That being said, turn the lights down and the volume up as we journey into some creepy gaming. Oh shit, there goes my controller. What was that doing there? That was terribly placed. That was just an accident waiting to happen. That was really kind of cliche.
When you hear the word Oxenfree, what do you think of? Me, personally, I think of the old game hide and seek. The stuff kids were playing before there was an internet. Ollie Ollie Oxenfree was used as a code word for everyone to come out of hiding. Why am I saying all of this? Well, I'm slowly losing my mind into vascular dementia. Or at least this game makes you think you are, anyway. Created by the good people of Night School Studio, Oxenfree is exactly what the title says it is. Hide and seek. A really weird, sick, twisted, haunting, traumatizing, bizarre, scary, inevitably creepy game of hide and seek. The game just came out on the PS4, so I really thought I was doing good by getting this episode out so fast. That is, until I realized the game has been out on Steam and Xbox One for a few months now. Yeah, I didn't do my typical research until after I had already played the game. But that was really the beauty of this little indie title. I went into this game totally blind and got totally blindsided, okay? It was like getting ran over with a bus. It was like taking a stiff right from Mike Tyson. And I'm talking about in his Punch-Out days. The point is, you don't know what hit you. Before I started Oxenfree, I noticed it was categorized in the action-adventure genre. So technically, this game is considered non-horror? Well, I beg to differ. Again, I really didn't know what to expect. The game starts with a group of friends taking a ferry to this strange island. The game is very well written, with a great voice cast and awesome smart-ass humor. So, I don't know, I was expecting something light, like a cheesy Scooby-Doo mystery or something. But no.
no. Dear God, no. This game. I'll just put it this way. This title definitely deserved an episode of Creepy Gaming. I guess what threw me off was the fact that the game didn't even start like a horror game. I won't lie, it starts kinda slow, but in a way that it builds up the tension. It's like a nice, slight, subtle descent into hell. Anyway, back to the beginning of the game. This group of friends start their trek to this strange island. It is here when we first get our little nugget of creepiness when Ren mentions the caves of this mysterious place.
There's no radio reception on the island. I'm glad I got to hear it before it went totally kaput.
If we can't use it, why'd you bring it? Not just for the boat.
No. You'll see. I don't expect too much, but nah, it'll be fun. I won't undercook it. You'll see.
This is when I began to get intrigued. Throughout my years of mastering the art as a creepy gaming sensei, I have seen a ton of side-scrolling horror games, mind you. Some are artistic and beautiful, like Limbo, for example. Others, not so much. Oxenfree legitimately stood out to me. I honestly found it disturbing, which, considering how desensitized I am by now, is really saying something. As I mentioned earlier, one thing I did appreciate about this game was the lack of jump scares. Yeah, sure, there's a few, but the game doesn't over-rely on them like so many others do. Oxenfree is more of a suspenseful thriller with disturbing fourth wall breaking moments. Plus, slowly, gradually figuring out the mystery of this island is an amazingly creepy aspect. The demonic sounds, paranormal occurrences, original setting, visual illusions, the awesome addition of the radio frequency dynamic, not to mention it was just an overall well put together game. All of these aspects make Oxenfree a great candidate to go down in creepy gaming history. And that is just my opinion. I won't lie to you guys, I don't think I've been like this excited to bring you a creepy gaming since like season 3. And that's not that like I haven't fell out of love with creepy gaming or what I'm doing, it's just this reminds me of like old school creepy gaming. This reminds me of like what made me love creepy video games to begin with. I guess that's the only way I know to really put it. I gotta be honest, it really did give me faith that originality still exists out in the horror genre today. Golf clap. Golf clap. Extended golf clap. That means it's really good. One more thing before I go, and I know I don't want to go either, but you'll never miss me if I'm not gone. That's why I stay gone as long as I do. Anyways, I digress. That's going to do it for me today, folks. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hi, I'm Mullet Mike with us. Battle in full screen saying, stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Peace. Oh, fuck. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, freaks and geeks, trolls and derps alike, welcome all. I am Mullet Mike with us Network and full screen, bringing you Creepy Gaming. As you can see, I am here at RTX at the Layers of Fear booth, a game that we will be covering today. Trust me, if you haven't played it yet, you're gonna like this one. Alright, so without any further ado, turn the lights down and the volume up as we journey into some creepy gaming.
Have you ever had a life-altering event that has left you in emotional distress? Has said event ever made you feel like you were nearing a nervous breakdown? Have you ever felt like you were slowly descending into madness? I do. All the time. It's just kind of a typical Tuesday for old Mullet Mike, really. All kidding aside, Layers of Fear is a game that truly makes you feel like you were going mad. I have made it a point this season to cover some pretty unique horror games, and Layers of Fear definitely falls under that category. Developed by Bloober Team and distributed by Aspyr, this indie title was released back in February 2016. I bought the game almost immediately and I was hooked. Now, before I begin to praise it too much, let me just give you a little background and let you see for yourself what makes this game so creepy. That's what kind of game we're talking about. Set in this Victorian-era manner, you play as a painter who is ready to create his magnum opus. He is ready to complete his masterpiece, if you will. The gameplay involves you walking around the mansion looking for art supplies. All seems normal, well and good, right? Wrong. As you journey throughout the manor, you slowly begin to notice things shifting. I should note that this indie title is not a survival horror game, but rather psychological horror. So, think, I don't know, Silent Hill meets Eternal Darkness. So rather than running for your life and hiding in lockers, in this game you simply explore and do a little problem solving. The first level is really pretty tame. Yeah, sure, the creepy tone is set and a few odd things happen. But the first truly disturbing moment, to me anyway, was when the painter finds his first supply. His wife's dried flesh for the canvas. Alright, minor spoilers coming up. Like other great story narratives, nothing is revealed at first. It is only by playing through the game that you slowly begin to learn more about the main character's dark past. Apparently, through flashbacks, we learn that the artist's wife actually used to model for him. She eventually gave birth to their daughter. Once the child was born, he began to neglect his family. From what I gather, the wife eventually takes the child and settles into a new home. Unfortunately, the house catches on fire. The young girl ended up being fine and was sent away, but the mother was horribly scarred from burns. Because of this, the painter deemed his wife flawed. She was no longer the model he needed. In a mad craze, the artist locked himself in his studio, drank heavily, and abandoned his daughter. Various noises had been disturbing the man for years. The mansion had a rat problem, and their dog constantly barking. Between his self-loathing, his drinking, guilt of domestic abuse, death of his wife, loss of his daughter, and the haunting sounds, the artist began his descent into madness. So now that you know the backstory, on to the gameplay. It's a first-person game, but as I stated earlier, it's not about survival. Each chapter, which revolves around finding quote-unquote art supplies, gets crazier and crazier, as do the art supplies. At first, you just hear strange sounds, rats scurrying about. Something might catch your eye, but overall the mansion is relatively normal. Each stage gets worse though. The house slowly begins to shift, change, and distort, much like the painter's fragile mind. The changes are subtle at first, but before you know it, the manor has transformed into an interdimensional maze. Using particular items or doing certain events will trigger the house to shift again. I don't want to call them puzzles, but it is more like basic problem solving. Now, I'm finding myself having a hard time describing this game to you and really doing it justice, because it's just that bizarre. So, what I'm going to do is just show you a few of my favorite scary moments and narrate over them. And before I go any further, I want to mention I will go into minor spoilers, but I won't get into any of the game's endings, which are all awesome, by the way. But if you do want to see the endings, let me know, and I might make a separate video. Either way, it's worth a playthrough for yourself, because the ending is just that good. Anyway, I digress. Consider this your official spoiler alert. The first really creepy moment that comes to mind is when you enter your daughter's room later in the game. This title literally goes off the rails. No, God, what was that? No. What are you? What's happening? No. Please, no. God, no. Oh, it's a baby doll. It had to be a baby doll. Oh, getting sick. Getting dizzy. Yep, getting dizzy. Gonna throw up. Gonna throw up. Very nice. When I first played this chapter, I was alone late at night and did not see this coming. Beginning to see why this will be making it into creepy gaming history? Well, if that didn't do it for you, maybe this one will. This one actually takes part in the library. Again, the house begins to distort more and more. So originally, your library looked something like this. Now, it looks more like this. This next part takes place in the study, around the checkerboard or chessboard. Every time you turn around, the room continues to distort. And even more so than previous chapters. Another great creepy moment. Just one of many. So, what do I think of Layers of Fear? Well, just in case you didn't figure it out, I love it. In all honesty, one of the better horror games I've played in recent history. And I know I say that a lot, but I can't stress it enough. And no, I wasn't paid to say this or promote this. It's my job as a curator of sorts to keep one of my favorite genres, the horror genre, alive. As a matter of fact, you don't know how excited I was that Aspyr had a Layers of Fear booth at RTX this year. I even got to chat with Kellen Kincaid, one of the publishers of the game. We talked about the newly released Inheritance DLC, which at the time was upcoming, and we had to be careful of what was on the record and what was embargoed. Inheritance is where you play as the artist's daughter, all grown up, going back to the mansion to ultimately see if she can forgive the sins of her father. The core game was heavy enough, but this is deep. I don't feel comfortable enough to talk about the DLC yet because what you're seeing is really all I've gotten to play so far, other than what I played at RTX. There's a lot of creepy gaming coming up, so I haven't had the time. But, hey, who knows, maybe sometime down the road. Anyway, back to my talk with Mr. Kincaid. One thing he could tell me was that Aspyr was working very hard with the game's developers, Bloober team, on releasing a brand new title. Something totally new, something totally different. But that's all I can say. Psst. I know what it is, and it sounds awesome. I was very grateful for Kellen and the entire staff of Aspyr. They were very nice. They even gave me this creepy old Victorian style children's book, which is utterly disturbing, and this awesome official Layers of Fear holographic painting. This will definitely be going up on the Creepy Gaming set. Overall, Layers of Fear is a great indie horror title, but Aspyr, Bloober team, if you're watching right now, this game is so meant for VR. Please, 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 please make this where I can play this on a VR headset. That will take this game to a whole new level. But just for the core game itself, between the ambient sounds, creepy Victorian era setting, the tragedy of the family, the beautifully eerie music, and the mind-numbing insanity, Layers of Fear has done more than enough to forever go down in creepy gaming history. Special sticky shout out to Quinn Crane, Chris Lott, Adrian Amaru Setsu, and Corey Christian Anderson. This one was for you guys and everyone else that recommended this game for the show. Now, before I leave you kiddies, let me tell you all a little bedtime story. Okay, I'm really just closing out with a quote, but it's a goodie. Before starting the game, we are given a little note from the developers, and I think it sums up this title perfectly. And I quote, "Layers of Fear is a unique immersive game in which every decision affects the narrative. As in life, it is the doors you open, the memories you take with you, and the shadows you explore that will define who you are. This may be our game, but this is your journey." End quote. Huh, that's profound. Yeah, your journey. Your journey into creepy gaming.
Hi, I'm Mullet with this on full screen saying keep it stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Mullet Mike Hardcastle here with the Paddle Gaming Network and Full Screen, bringing you Creepy Gaming. Well, it's official, folks. As you can see, I am an official member of the Scout Regiment. That's right, got my badge today. Just signed my name away, you know? Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't really know what I signed up for. I should really start reading those terms and agreements. What is this? What are we fighting? Okay, so I don't know what I signed up for, but this badge was just too sweet, alright? I can't help it. It was just too cool. I couldn't pass it up. Can't be that bad, though, right? Every time I say that, something bad happens. So in case you didn't figure it out, today we will be covering Attack on Titan. What is that? Is this what we're fighting? So without any further ado, folks, you know the drill. Turn the lights down and the volume up as we journey into some creepy gaming.
Okay, so I'll be the first to admit that I'm not a big anime or manga fan. I just haven't followed it much, other than some older films like Akira or Vampire Hunter D. I do, however, consider myself otaku. I enjoy Japanese culture. It wasn't until last year that I started watching a certain anime series. And that series was Attack on Titan. I've really been wanting to talk about this episode for quite a while now, and now since the game was released earlier this year, I finally found my excuse to do so. Titled after the manga and anime of the same name, Attack on Titan was released for Windows, Xbox One, PS3, PS4, and Vita earlier this year. Developed by Omega Force and released by the long-running Koei Tecmo, this title was also released in Europe, but under the name Attack on Titan: Wings of Freedom. Now, if you're watching this, then you are probably already familiar with the anime. So, let's just get straight to the creepy stuff, shall we?
What the fuck? No, it can't be you. I've already dealt with you.
For this to be a non-horror title, this game's premise is absolutely terrifying. Just look at this opening cinematic. The Titans are grade A nightmare fuel. I mean, they were disturbing in the anime, especially the Colossal Titan, but I don't know. Maybe it's seeing them in a 3D cel-shaded landscape that just adds another layer of terror to these already monstrous creatures. The gameplay is similar to a hack and slash, but with all the perks of being a scout. The jetpack, blades, and cables make for a fun gaming experience. Think Spider-Man meets, I don't know, God of War.
Good thing I brought these bad boys.
You play as several characters of the Scout Regiment, namely Eren. The story is basically a video game version of Season 1 of the show. The Scouts protect the three walls of the kingdom from these disturbing quote-unquote Titans.
Who gonna kick some ass? I'm gonna kick some ass. Who gonna kick some ass? I'm gonna kick some ass. Alright. Where are these little guys? I'm ready to fight.
Seriously, is it just me, or do these things look like they came from the seventh circle of hell? I mean, come on! How would you like to be chased by these wonky, giant, naked, sans genitalia, grinning freaks? You tell me. Let me ask you, the audience, what makes the Titans so disturbing? Is it that they are misproportioned? Is it the eerie, evil grins? Maybe the fact that they're naked giants? Is it that they eat people? Or is it all of the above? So let's break this down. Let's start with the Titan's appearance. You've probably heard me talk about the uncanny valley. It's a term taught in film school used for something that is supposed to look human, a human simulation of sorts, but your eyes can tell otherwise. You notice that it's not quite human. This at times can leave the viewer with an unsettling feeling. The example I always like to use is mannequins. They are supposed to look human, but you can tell they're not. My point being, I'd say it's safe to say that the Titans fall under the uncanny valley category. They look like giant men and women, but because of their wide eyes, distorted grins, misproportioned arms and torsos, they come across as terrifying. Again, it doesn't help that they're naked. Come on, look at this guy. Seriously, what in the hell is this? Oh, look at him go. Oh, come on, buddy. I know, creepiness is subjective. But personally speaking, these guys are walking nightmares. Now on this show we typically discuss weird Easter eggs, maybe some gaming creepypasta, eerie theory, or even a horror game review. Attack on Titan is one of the first episodes that I can think of where it's the actual premise itself that's creepy. There are no deep-rooted aspects, just surface terror. Don't worry, I'll get back to scary Easter eggs and such. But I haven't been this disturbed playing a non-horror title in quite a while. At least since Splatoon. Just while playing this game though, I felt like I needed to do an episode on it. Even if this game is more just weird or disturbing than it is scary, I feel like it deserves its own special place in creepy gaming history. Maybe it's just me. But because of their bizarre nature, the Titans just straight up freak me out. The premise for Attack on Titan is brilliant. It's one of the reasons the franchise has grown into the pop culture phenomenon that it is. Starting as a manga, then anime, followed by a live-action movie, and now finally it crosses the plane into gaming.
One thing interesting to note is, I don't know if it was directly influenced or not, but this definitely takes some elements from the War of the Gargantuas, which was another great kaiju movie I used to love as a kid, but also scared the piss out of me, alright?
Released in 1966, this film was darker and grittier than other movies in the Daikaiju genre at the time. The story focused on these two giant humanoid brothers battling one another. They would also eat people, biting their heads off, much like Attack on Titan.
They were these giant humanoid figures with hair everywhere and... Okay, a little bit bigger than me, but they were eating people!
Whether or not it was inspired by elements of the film, Attack on Titan is its own animal. Giant humanoid. It's one of the more original premises I have heard in recent years. I like the idea of the three giant barrier-like walls. I like the concept of the scout regiment. I enjoy Eren and his overall story arc. And don't get me started on the colossal Titan. How do you make the Titans even more disturbing? How about having an even larger, steaming, fleshless Titan? No, not creepy at all. Ugh.
Please help us, I'm so sorry. We need you now.
Overall, Attack on Titan has terrifying monsters, an original setting, strong characters, and just leaves a memorable impression. Well done. Kudos. As I said earlier, scary is subjective. What might be creepy to someone might not be creepy to others. Plus, there are different types of terror. There's psychological horror. There's in-your-face shock moments like jump scares, for example. Then there's the bizarre, the disturbing, strange aspects that just leave you with an unsettling feeling in your gut. There have been several times I've covered Easter eggs or gaming creepypastas that have never truly freaked me out. The giant, distorted, naked, man-eating humanoids genuinely creep me out. So, if I feel that eeriness while playing a game, then that, my friends, is what creepy gaming is all about. Because of the disturbing gargantuan monstrosities, Attack on Titan will be filed right next to LSD Dream Emulator in the WTF category of creepy gaming history.
As I said earlier, I've been wanting to talk about Attack on Titan for a while, but never really could for creepy gaming. But now, because of the game, I could. For all those who requested this episode, I hope you enjoyed. If you didn't request this episode, I hope you enjoyed. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I truly hope you enjoyed. Hi, I'm Mullet Mike with the on full screen saying, sticky, stay creepy. Thank you all so much for watching. Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, freaks and geeks, trolls and derps alike, welcome all. I am Mullet Mike Hardcastle with us, Paddle Gaming Network and Full Screen, bringing you creepy gaming. Forgive me for not doing a live intro, but I thought I'd take it back to old school, Season 2 style, if you know what I mean. What it is we're really in the middle of a film shoot right now, and the truth is we're having to rebuild the creepy gaming set for the upcoming Halloween episode. But you don't care about any of that behind the scenes crap. Today we will be covering the park. Thanks to everyone who suggested it. So without any further ado, turn the lights down and the volume up as we journey once again into some creepy gaming. Creepy gaming. The Park is a horror game that was released in the fall of last year. It's October and the holiday season is officially upon us. Halloween will be here soon, so I thought I'd bring you guys some interesting thrills, chills, and even some feels in this episode of Creepy Gaming. The Park was published and developed by Funcom and released in October of 2015. Rather than a typical survival horror game, this game is more psychological, I'd say. This title is pretty straightforward. The less is more approach of this game really works in its favor. It's basically a scary game of Marco Polo. You play as a mother looking for her son in this disturbing amusement park. There's even an option where you can call out to him, and his replies will let you know if you're going the right way. This, of course, is just a gross summary of the game, and I will delve into it later, but my point being is the game has a pretty simple concept, but it works. The park starts off right away with an excellent opening. Nothing to get in the way, just straight into the madness. You play as the mother Lorraine, looking for her son Callum as the theme park is closing. You enter the park just before it shuts its doors, only to realize something strange occurs. Rather suddenly, too.
There's something special about the entrance to an amusement park. A line drawn between the real world and the world of whimsy within. On this side, the apathy of our everyday lives. And on the other, anything we might dare to dream. It's no wonder Callum ran back inside. I wouldn't want to leave either.
Attention employees, the park is now closed. Have a safe journey home.
The park itself transforms into this nightmarish world. As I stated earlier, you can call out to Callum, to which he would guide you from ride to ride.
Oh God. The park. What happened here?
The game teases you immediately with the House of Horrors, but of course, since you haven't got the flashlight yet, you can't enter. I should have known they'd save it for last. It's a creepy looking funhouse, with the entrance being the mouth of a witch. I've always been freaked out by old stories and legends of witches. Might be why I like this game so much. I've always said that I wish they'd be used more in all forms of media, not just gaming. The story of the park shares many parallels with another classic witch tale. That of Hansel and Gretel. The first ride that you're led to is, well, the Tunnel of Tales. While taking a trip through the creepy cave, we are actually told the story of Hansel and Gretel, or at least a version of it. It is here that if you just happen to be looking in the right direction at the right time, you will be introduced to Chad. Say hi to Chad, folks. Hi, Chad. Yeah, genuine nightmare fuel. The game itself really isn't that long. There's only a handful of rides, but each one comes complete with its own creepy, memorable moments. Once having a go at each of the rides, you eventually find the flashlight and head to the House of Horrors. I won't spoil it for you, but this is what the game's tension eventually builds up to. It reminds me of a PT-like psychological thriller. And I know I use that analogy quite a bit, but it's been a trend here in horror games as of late. Again, this title is pretty short, so if it sounds like your style, then check it out. It's worth a playthrough, I'd say. This game at first glance may look a little generic, and let's go ahead and be honest, a lot of it is pretty cliched. I mentioned earlier that you're equipped with a flashlight.
Typical.
You must find notes.
Cheap.
You have a bloody, kid-friendly mascot.
Lame.
And as you play, you learn more about the character's past.
Bullshit.
And of course, there's the occasional jump scare.
Of course.
There's even this pretty good one. You can see this mannequin in one of the park's buildings. That genuinely made me jump. Okay, so yeah, it's not the most original story ever told, but that doesn't mean the game didn't have its own redeeming qualities. Personally speaking, it is the setting, to me, that makes this game so creepy. Being alone in this dark, mysterious amusement park leaves you feeling unnerved. And trust me, if you're afraid of clowns, then, oh, you'll just love this game. Amusement parks are meant to be happy, family-friendly places filled with the laughter of children. In this park, you hear cries, whispers. Sometimes your son calls back to you. Sometimes he doesn't. The bone-chilling atmosphere definitely leaves an impression and stands out against other horror games. And I guess I need to go ahead and address the elephant in the room, or bear, or squirrel, or whatever the hell this is. I think a lot of people have confused this title as a Five Nights at Freddy's knockoff, especially with all the fan-made games the series spawned. and Chad doesn't really help matters. But take my word for it, the park is its own beast. Comparing the game is like comparing apples to oranges. Similar, but two different things entirely. It's ironic, really, that this game is actually more like what I thought the original Five Nights at Freddy's gameplay was going to be like before it came out. It is also noteworthy to say that the park is actually a spin-off of another game series, an MMORPG also created by Funcom, known as The Secret World. From what I understand, it in itself is a horror game, set in modern times based on classic folklore. I've even heard that it's pretty Lovecraftian, which that would explain why you can find a Cthulhu Easter egg in the park, as well as all the Dunwich references. I could make a whole nother creepy gaming on The Secret World alone. I swear, I can talk about this stuff all day. I didn't even get to talk about the other great creepy aspects of the park, like the haunted rides, or the backstory of the theme park's mascot, or even the boogeyman-like creature. But it is October, and we have to move on because I have a lot of upcoming content planned. So between the creepy rides, the mind-numbing hallucinations, the bloodied, red-eyed mascot, and the amazingly eerie setting, the park has done more than enough to forever go down in creepy gaming history. That's going to do it for me today, folks. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I am Mullet Mike with us in full screen saying, stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Halloween is coming. Peace. Halloween episode. Act like you didn't produce this or something. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, freaks and geeks, trolls and derps alike. Welcome, welcome all. I am Mullet Mike with the Paddle Gaming Network, bringing you creepy gaming. And not just any creepy gaming. As you can see, this is the Halloween special. This year, rather than just focusing on one single game like I tend to do for creepy gaming, this is going to be a compilation episode. Because rather than just talking about like a single game, we're going to be talking about a lot of games. A lot of VR games. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's happening. I thought this would make for a good creepy gaming Halloween special, mainly because virtual reality, just in my opinion, is going to take horror games to like a whole new level after this. This is just the start. I mean, yeah, sure, it's been around for a while. I just see this being a natural part of creepy gaming's evolution. Alright, so now that you know to expect the unexpected, it's showtime, folks. That's right. Everybody grab your popcorn, get your Halloween candy ready, turn the lights down and the volume up as we journey into the Creepy Gaming Halloween special. So is virtual reality a new era in gaming, or will it eventually end up as just another gaming gimmick? I won't mention any names. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this very special Halloween episode of Creepy Gaming. These are always fun episodes to make because it gives me a chance to do something different. So we just received a PlayStation VR here at TSP headquarters, and I had to show some hardcore discipline and restraint to not lock myself in my office and just veg out. Now, I know the VR experience is nothing new. You gotta remember, I came from the days of the Virtual Boy. What a nightmare! Not only that, but I know Oculus Rift dev kits have been floating around for years now. 2016 is an important year for gaming because virtual reality has now become mainstream with the official release of the Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, and, as previously mentioned, the PlayStation VR. There are several internet personalities producing VR content for years now, but now anyone can have access to it, especially since the PSVR introduces the headset to console gamers. I remember the first time I played with an Oculus Rift. It was at one of the conventions, maybe RTX or SGC, but they had a few out on the showroom floor. I was impressed, it was pretty badass, but I was playing some family-friendly third-person game where I was some kind of chipmunk or something. No, not that one. It was cool, but I knew the true VR experience was in first-person games. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. All you can do is maybe close your eyes. That's what makes VR horror so terrifying. When we play a first-person game on a TV or a monitor, there's this space between you and the game. It's a safety buffer, a comfort zone, if you will. Yeah, sure, play in the dark, use headphones, and you can get creeped out. But VR removes that comfort zone. It takes away that safety buffer. You are immersed into the game. The 3D stereoscopic sound makes you second guess your every head turn. You are there. You are vulnerable. Just in case you haven't picked up on what I'm talking about, shit gets up in your bubble, okay?
When you have this VR headset on, you really are in the game. I cannot stress that enough. If somebody comes up to your face, they're literally like right there.
This being a Halloween special in tradition of Creepy Gaming, to shake things up, this year we will be doing a compilation episode.
Hell yeah!
So rather than just discussing one game as per usual, I'll be briefly discussing a couple of different games and then mainly focus on the Second Until Dawn, Rush of Blood. So what I did is film my initial reaction to these games and scary moments. I didn't play it through at first and then live stream it just to ham it up. These are my genuine reactions. I cannot stress that enough. I should note too, before we go any further, that it can be scary alone just anticipating what VR is going to be like if you've never played it. We had several friends and family members come into the office to check it out. Every single person came in the studio was afraid or at least nervous. And they didn't even play the horror games like I did. Alright, first up, Here They Lie. This VR horror title is an interesting game. The tone and setting is what makes it. You are in this desaturated black and white world chasing after this woman who we presume to be a former girlfriend or wife. She is the only light in this otherwise dark world, a symbol of hope. It's basically White Rabbit gameplay where you're led by someone or something to further guide you on your journey. Much like the park, or even the original Silent Hill. Aside from the atmosphere of the game, the setting is pretty metro. You start off on a subway or train. VR just enhances all of this, so you really feel like you're on this dark, dank subway cart. The sound of grinding rails, drips of water. You can almost even smell the hobo's defecation in the corner. It's a crazy experience, let me tell you.
We hear the phrasing of being immersed into the game way too often. It's very overused. We hear it all the time. And it can be out of any context of, oh, this game has such a good story, so I was very just intrigued and invested into the game's plot. Or, you know, this game was so lifelike and the visuals were so beautiful and realistic. I felt like I was really there. I was really immersed into the game. When I say that virtual reality immerses you into the game, you are really in the game. I cannot stress that enough. Feels like the right thing.
Years ago, the game Outlast brought a new dynamic of peeking around corners. It definitely made for some good creepy gaming moments. But now with the VR headset, if you want to look around a corner, all you have to do is lean forward a little bit.
Oh my God. Oh, don't do that.
Overall, Here They Lie is a fun game, and the VR experience just makes it that much creepier. From what I've played of it, I've really enjoyed it. I would talk about it more, but we have a lot to cover. Next up, how about a non-horror title? Batman Arkham VR. Now the Batman Arkham games are no stranger to this show. We have seen our fair share of disturbing Easter eggs, theories, and locations from the series. So why would Arkham VR be any different? This title is riddled with Easter eggs. See what I did there? One notable creepy Easter egg is actually a trophy in the game. When you follow Nightwing's tracking beacon on the fire escape, if you look into the window and zoom in, you will see none other than the hat of Jervis Tetch. Why is that creepy or interesting in the least bit, you ask? Because Batman fans will know him better as the Mad Hatter. Please refer back to my Creepy Gaming Arkham episodes if you're unfamiliar with this madman. That's not all. Without spoiling it, the ending is absolutely mind-blowing. The game actually has a few creepy jump scares worth noting too.
So I said I'm not going to give away any major spoilers. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to give away any major plot points. I am, however, going to give some minor spoilers to certain scenarios. Basically, if you want to save your virgin ass for Batman Arkham VR, then I suggest you just skip forward just a little bit.
At one point, you must collect cogs to free the little Robin from his cage. That's when you get this little unexpected visit from a former friend.
It's okay, I got it. Oh! Get out! That's a bad drop! Holy shit!
Who's the real monster here?
You okay?
Yeah, better than ever.
Killer Croc has always been an imposing figure, but when you're 6 foot tall and you see this behemoth in a VR space, he's way more threatening. It might not translate well on the screen, but from a VR headset, try it for yourself and you'll see what I mean. For a game that only retailed at $20, I didn't expect much from it. I thought it'd be some glorified tech demo, and it can be perceived that way. But there was a lot more to this than I was expecting, and the game itself has a ton of replay value. So, without spoiling the major details, I do have to speak on the ending. You go check out the Arkham lockup, only to find yourself in one of the padded rooms. By rotating around 360 degrees, the room constantly shifts and distorts. You see dead bodies, there's another appearance by Killer Croc, and not only that, but the room gets smaller. It can make you feel pretty uncomfortable if you're claustrophobic. And that's how the game ends. So what does it mean? Well, it's left players theorizing ever since. Overall, between the eerie Easter eggs, head-scratching theories, and awesome unexpected Killer Croc jump scare, this non-horror VR title definitely deserves to be on this list. Up next, VR Worlds. This is another non-horror game, but I felt it should get an honorable mention.
Now, I hesitate to call it a demo disc because, well, there already is a demo disc.
This is more like a bunch of really good tech demos and mini-games. This title makes it on the list for one major reason: this guy. If you've seen any PSVR ads, then you've probably seen this visual. Well, there's a reason for that. Besides maybe London Heist, this game is my favorite and has a great scary moment for it being a non-horror game. Especially if you have a fear of being underwater. You are placed in a shark cage and lowered into the darkest parts of the sea. It starts out really peaceful. Beautiful fish, inspirational music, a zen-like atmosphere.
It's beautiful. What's so scary about this one?
And then, of course, it being called Shark Encounter, this happens.
Okay.
Hey, back off! This is my comfort zone, okay? You do not enter my comfort zone. Holy fuck! It's creepy enough just seeing the shark slowly stalking you, but it's a game changer when he busts through the cage. Not only that, but he rips off the door, leaving you feeling extremely vulnerable.
Bad boy! That is a bad boy! My door!
Either way, it is worth it for Ocean Descent alone. Before we cover and focus on our final game, I'd like to throw out a few more honorable mentions. The Resident Evil 7 teaser is out. I'm sure many of you have already played the demo. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard is built for VR, but for whatever reason I couldn't get my headset to work on the demo, so it might just be for the final version when it comes out. Another upcoming horror game I'm really looking forward to is Outlast 2. Either way, I figured these titles deserve to get mentioned. Alright, last but definitely not least, the pseudo-sequel to Until Dawn, the main event of the evening, folks. Until Dawn, Rush of Blood.
Oh no. Oh, this is just the opening. This is... Love that song.
I keep wanting to call it Until Dawn 2, even though it's really more of a spin-off. This PSVR horror title is an on-rail shooter. Literally. You are on rails and you are shooting. You ride this minecart in this bizarre fun house. Now, I'm sure a lot of people think that this is too much of a departure from the original game, but it really ties in quite nice. The butterfly effect is still very much in use. When I first started the game, I didn't know what to expect, but it follows the original Until Dawn a lot more than I thought it would. Shooting certain objects might lead you down a different path. You don't necessarily have to play the first game to enjoy this one, but you'll definitely appreciate it a whole lot more. I won't bury the lead any more than I already have. This game is absolutely mind-blowing.
Okay. I see plank. This is called Rush of Blood.
The premise is relatively simple. You're on a funhouse ride set atop the same mountain that the first Until Dawn took place. I don't know if it's canon or not, but I like the twisted idea of some soulless businessman wanting to capitalize on the deaths of the characters from the original. But just in classic Until Dawn fashion, nothing is as it seems. The game starts out normal, but still spooky nonetheless. Being encased within the game's atmosphere leaves one feeling trapped. At one point in the first level, your cart drives through some sort of hallucinogenic toxin. So basically, you don't know what's real or what's not. Once the hallucinogen kicks in, you could say everything goes off the rails. But seriously, shit gets nuts.
Oh my god. Oh. No. You're gonna be so up in my face! Oh god. Whoa. Oh my god, this is awesome! And those are baby dolls!
This game is brilliant at drawing away your attention.
Another great aspect that I've been touching on is the 3D stereo. It's amazing. Again, it's another way to help you feel like you were truly in the game. For example, something in the game might happen where you hear something in your left ear. When you turn to look at it, you'll hear it from both of your ears. Same with the right, same with hearing things from behind you. I've played both with the television sound and with the headphones, and the headphones definitely make it more of a personal experience.
Until Dawn Rush of Blood is exactly as it says it is. It is a major blood rush, as well as an adrenaline rush. I tried to do a playthrough of it, but I feel like it didn't turn out well because this game is relentless. It is literally one scare after another. I would try to talk or make a lame joke, but I was constantly freaking out. I would again like to remind you that the footage you have been seeing is my initial playthrough of these games. No overacting here, just flat out panic.
This is the guy that's brought you Creepy Gaming. I've played all sorts of creepy games before, and this is a new experience entirely. I have not been this scared from a video game in quite a while.
I originally thought this is a game that I'd be laughing at, like the others. I don't know, I thought it might be a little tongue-in-cheek, but no. No. Dear God, no, it's not. It's not. They took this game seriously. Once you hit the butcher room, all bets are off.
Even though I probably shouldn't. Because I think these are going to make choices. Okay, you're catching them. All of these. Shut up. You're all catching them. Oh, God, it's horrifying. I'm going to put you out of your misery. Oh, God. What is this?
This game makes you dodge saw blades and all kinds of obstacles, fully utilizing the headset's capability. This title makes you lean, makes you reload, makes you constantly look around. It's just another classic case of juggling monkeys and chainsaws. it just adds more panic. The game can even get overwhelming at times. I will admit, for the record, right now, as of October 2016, I, Mullet Mike Hardcastle, will say this game scared me more than any other video game ever. And that should be saying something. There was even one time I had to remove my headset.
Okay, I see why. This is called Rush of Blood. Have I mentioned that? What in the... I'm speechless, guys. I'm so sorry for being speechless, but this is insane. Is it supposed to be that? Hello? Okay, I got... No. Pause. Can't do it. No, taking a break. Time out, coach. Time out.
It was that bad. It just shook me up that bad. Now, to clarify, I am not saying that this is the scariest game of all time. I'm just saying that the initial first-person playthrough with VR made it the scariest gaming experience I have ever had to date. Now, would this game be as scary on a regular 2D screen with a controller? No. Not only no, but hell no. I mean, sure, it would be eerie, but it is nothing compared to the virtual reality experience. I'm sure I've made this game sound terrible, like it was an unenjoyable play, but it wasn't. I had a lot of fun playing this game, actually. I love the roller coaster sections. You really get a feeling in your gut like you're dropping fast on a roller coaster. The PlayStation Move controllers work surprisingly well, too. So the gunplay was fun. There are even some parts where you actually feel, dare I say, empowered? Before I wrap up, I just want to mention one more thing. I've gone on record saying I don't like jump scares. So some of you are probably wondering why I enjoyed this so much. Well, I don't like jump scares because they're usually lame, overused, or just flat out ineffective. They're more annoying than scary. If the jump scare doesn't actually scare you, then it's pretty ineffective, yeah? Not just that, but I hate hidden screamers. To me, screamers are intentional jump scares that bait people, usually in an unscary setting. When I played Rush of Blood, I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. I knew this wasn't going to be My Little Pony. I expected jump scares. Hell, I wanted jump scares. You want to know why? Because they were used properly. If you're playing with a VR headset in first person without those safety barriers, when creepy clowns get right in your face, then it works. It was creepy and just helped make my October a lot better. It was just good old-fashioned fun. Creepy fun. Scary fun. And that, my friends, as I always say, is what creepy gaming is all about.
Now, I want to state right now, I don't think 2D gaming is dead by any means. I think if anything, virtual reality is just another way to experience gaming. 2D gaming, TV gaming, monitor gaming, whatever you want to call it, to me will always be around. There's always a place for it. Like, not every game needs to be VR by any means necessary. Virtual reality is just another way to experience the game. Will it be gimmicky, or is it here to stay? Let me know in the comments. But as of right now, I guess only time will tell. Again, for the record, I know, VR is nothing new. VR videos have been around for years now. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, again, it's mainstream now. This year, we have seen the Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, and the PlayStation VR all drop, just in this 1 year alone. So, I guess what I'm saying is the future is really limitless. It's up to the developers and the creators out there. Hopefully some might be watching this. VR is just a brand new avenue to take us places that we've never gone before as gamers. So I'm really looking forward to the future of horror games and just all VR games in general, really. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this Halloween special. I know I've enjoyed making it for you. Halloween is always one of my favorite times of the year. Guess that's gonna do it for the Halloween special, folks. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hi, I'm Mullet Mike with the Gaming Network and Full Screen Arcade saying, keep stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Peace. Oh, happy Halloween.
First up, a true staple of Rockstar games, Aliens. In this game you may find several strange X-rays. An alien-like skull can be found, and a skeleton that appears to be extraterrestrial in nature can be found at the Happy Volts Asylum. But what makes this Easter egg a little creepier is the fact that the skull actually matches those of the X-rays. In the library, there is a framed photo of a male scientist who is widely theorized to be Dr. Watts. Standing next to him, you will see this gray alien, or Alamau if you will. You can find this image hanging next to the staircase on the first floor, or in the asylum's reception area. There also happens to be an oddly shaped triangle that can be seen in the sky above Bulworth. It is different from both airplanes and the birds in the game. Since there are photos of aliens and bizarre skeletons in the asylum, many players have speculated that it is actually an alien spacecraft. Now, whether it's Alamau or not, that's for you, Muda. It is still a UFO, and it is possible that this is actually an unused in-game blip. The same was said about the lights in the sky from GTA Vice City. As you roam about the game, you will hear strange talks of a haunted paper mill. An NPC character named McInnes, who is found in Blue Sky Residence, will sometimes speak of this haunted building. He can be heard saying quotes like, "You believe in supernatural stuff? I heard the paper mill might have like a portal or something, you know?" And the police are even too afraid to go up into the attic of the mill. What's really weird is there is no paper mill in Bulworth. There's no paper mill in the game at all. It is possible that they are referring to one of the various abandoned warehouses in the New Coventry area of Industrial Park. It has also been speculated that it could be referencing some possibly removed game content. Maybe it was one of the elements taken out of the game, helping to keep it from its possible M rating. Talk of the building is often chalked up to McInnes' paranoia. So the haunted paper mill, still to this day, remains a mystery. There is a theory that werewolves possibly exist in this game, or at least strange goings-on at the asylum again. In the asylum, there is yet another X-ray. This one with more of a human-like skull attached to a horizontal spine. In addition to this little chilling image, players have also heard strange howling sounds out in the woods at night. Some gamers have even claimed to have seen or even been attacked by them. Again, I hate to bring up the similarities, but unfortunately this title is like GTA San Andreas, and the fact that because of the time of its release and the several PC mods, it's hard to decipher if they really exist or not. One creepy Easter egg that remains undisputed, though, is the creature's X-ray itself. There's this rundown house in Blue Skies Industrial Park that at any time of the day can be found with the sounds of laughter, running chainsaw, and snoring. Not just that, but smoke can be seen coming from inside as well. In the rundown houses and apartment buildings in eastern New Coventry and near the bridge to Blue Skies, voices can be heard at any time of the day or night. The words are all muffled and full of echoes, although a young boy can be clearly heard yelling, "No!" In the ambience files of the game, these are referred to as playground ambience and kids playing. However, there are no playgrounds in the game, not even at Bullworth. It's almost like the haunted paper mill. It is possible that the neighborhood where these voices are heard was meant to be a playground at one point, or something, or perhaps someone, much more sinister. This theory again leads to the asylum. Man, there is a lot of bad hoodoo there. When does it end? Hardcore Rockstar fans will know an awesome reference within the asylum to a rather dark character. A drawing of a cartoonish pig labeled Piggy can be found in the recreational room. This is noted as a possible reference to Pigsy from Manhunt, another Rockstar classic. Pigsy, for those who don't know, was a terror-inducing antagonist and overall mentally disturbed, cannibalistic mass murderer who always wore a skinned pig's head over his face. He was also known to slaughter his victims with a chainsaw, which strangely ties into the claims of a chainsaw sound coming from the old rundown house. Is this his home? This has left many players to theorize that Pigsy really is in the game. Another creepy fact to consider too about the Happy Volts Asylum is that there are no real inmates in free roam mode. However, there are voice clips and dialogue from various patients who are never seen or heard in the game. Asylum public announcements are also found in the audio files and can be heard randomly playing in the eerie chambers of the asylum. Is it possible there was a plan for missions here? Or at least inmates planned for the building that didn't make it into the game? But again, this was all probably removed to prevent the M rating. In closing, the unknown myths, legends, secrets, theories, and creepy Easter eggs has done more than enough to make Bully forever go down in creepy gaming history. This game has a lot of creepy and unexplainable stuff, and has some really good moments to freak you out if you dive too deep into the unknown. I encourage more creepy Easter eggs in open world games. Take note, developers. It helps draw attention to your game and is a good way to get people talking about it. Well, I think that's going to do it for me today, folks. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I truly hope you enjoyed. I am Mullet Mike with the Sticky Paddle Gaming Network and Full Screen Arcade saying keep it sticky, stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, trigger alert. We're covering Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. On with the show!
Five Nights at... Oh, I can't even make the same joke. I've made so many of these. Five Nights at Freddy's sister location, or as I like to call it, Five Nights at Freddy's 5. That's right, FNAF 5, 5, FNAF 5. Some of you love the games and requested it. There's a group that hates it and think FNAF has been played out. Then there are people like me who's just kinda numb to it at this point. This semi-spin-off pseudo-sequel was first teased in April 2016. The only word shown was sister location. This gave a lot of people hope, myself included, that this might be something different. I've been a fan of indie game developer Scott Cawthon for a few years now. I think he has a great mind for storytelling and promotion, so when I first saw this, I thought, nice! Finally Scott's gonna move on to another horror title. Maybe something different in nature. Having little or nothing to do with the FNAF lore. You know, have an all new... Nope! Nope. Don't get me wrong, I understood the title, Sister Location. But that's what made me feel like this was going to be way different. I felt like, yeah, sure, there might be a reference or two about an animatronic attack elsewhere, or mention of the bite of 87, or even maybe somebody say the name Freddy in passing. But no! Freddy is in this game. And of course he is! Why wouldn't he be?
If I'm going to give this game any kind of credit, I will say it's cool that you can finally move your character. And no, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 doesn't count because you're just running to door to door to door to door to door to closet, bed.
Perhaps it would be best, before I get too worked up, if we just start from the beginning. The last game, not counting FNAF World, was Five Nights at Freddy's 4, the quote-unquote final chapter. But in all fairness, like I said last season, the final chapter suffix had been dropped by the game's release and wasn't featured on the title screen. Not only that, but I can't help but feel like it was a reference to Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter. And if you're a horror fan, you know damn well that wasn't the final chapter. Besides, I can't say anything about titles. I changed names on my last Halloween episode quite a bit. Go see for yourself. No, really. Go. See it. Look at it. Watch it. So many gamers like myself thought, okay, wow, Scott's done with the series for a bit and will go on to create some new intellectual properties. And maybe one day return to FNAF. You know, because Lockbox and all. And you know what? He did. Sorta. With FNAF World. Sure, it was the same characters, but it was presented in a totally different light. The game is an RPG, it's supposed to be non-canon, which we'll touch on later, and this title had more of a light-hearted tone. Okay, so maybe now that Scott has slowly transitioned out of the FNAF formula, he might try his hand at a different kind of horror game. I mean, that's what the whole thank you screen was all about, right? A fitting end to FNAF for the time being? Maybe Scott will go back to his roots and make some sort of interesting side-scroller. Maybe a new RPG. Possibly even an original new horror game. Or maybe... nope. So here we are again. But to be fair, just like all the other FNAF titles, Scott Cawthon always adds a few more bells and whistles to make each game just different enough. I can't say Sister Location isn't the same formula, because it's not. But when you get down to the bare essentials, when you get down to the game's endoskeleton, you're still a guy who is trying not to get killed by a bunch of creepy animatronics. Period. It's not confirmed, but the general consensus is that we play as William Bill Afton. If you've read the book Five Nights at Freddy's, The Silver Eyes, then you'll know Afton as, spoilers, the purple guy himself. Not only that, but Afton tends to be a key character in other ways as well. If he is the purple guy, then that means he's Springtrap from FNAF 3, which ironically was supposed to be the end of the series originally. If he is the purple guy, then that means he was the one behind the missing children. He was also seen in an Easter egg from FNAF 4. Not only that, but the book reveals him as one of the business managers of Fredbear Pizza, along with another gentleman named Henry. So the game starts in a very ominous tone with this strange dialogue.
There's no doubting what you've achieved on a technical level. These are clearly state-of-the-art. There are just certain design choices that were made for these robots that we don't fully understand. We were hoping that you could shed some light on those.
She can dance. She can sing. She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips. She can take song requests. She can even dispense ice cream.
With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
The second voice, as you heard, was confirmed as William Afton. So we assume we play as Afton in Sister Location. But why would he want to take this job? A question that actually gets brought up later in the game. The main difference with Sister Location compared to other installments, besides walking or crawling, is that each night you have a different task. That, and this title has a lot more expository dialogue compared to the others. For example, we typically have some sort of phone guy explain just a few things to us. Hell, in FNAF 4, we didn't even have that. But in Sister Location, nobody shuts up. It's funny. The few playthroughs I've actually watched, gamers have had a hard time talking without getting interrupted or talked over. There's always some animatronic chiming in, flapping its gums, giving its 2 cents worth. Pretty funny. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but Night 1 is like Night 1 from the other games. Much like the patterns of creepy gaming, the Five Nights at Freddy's series has its own formula too. In the FNAF games, there is little to no threat on Night 1. The first shift is just basically there to set the stage. Your setting is established, as per usual there is offbeat humor, and you are given your main objective. Here is a small example of what I'm talking about.
Welcome to the first day of your exciting new career. Whether you were approached at a job fair, read our ad and screws, bolts, and hairpins, or if this is the result of a dare, we welcome you. I will be your personal guide to help you get started. I'm a Model 5 of the Handyman's Robotics and Unit Repair System, but you can call me Hand Unit. Your new career promises challenge, intrigue, and endless janitorial opportunities. Please enter your name as seen above the keypad. This cannot be changed later. It seems that you had some trouble with the keypad. I see what you were trying to type, and I will auto-correct it for you. One moment. Welcome, Eggs Benedict.
Boom! There you have it. You might not know everything yet, but you know just enough. Like I've said, Night 1 is easy. You learn to check through the windows to make sure the animatronics are on stage. When they're not, you give them a shock, which I'm sure they just love. Night 2 is when the creepiness really picks up. While doing your typical routine, the synthetic voice instructor begins to malfunction. Before you know it, the grid's locked up and the system needs to be rebooted. The feeling you get when the system temporarily shuts down is absolutely nerve-wracking. During this time, we hear a foreboding message from who we believe to be Circus Baby.
I don't recognize you. You are new. I remember this scenario, however. It's a strange thing to want to do, to come here. I'm curious what events would lead a person to want to spend their nights in a place like this. Willingly. Maybe curiosity. Maybe ignorance. There is a space under the desk. Someone before you crafted it into a hiding place, and it worked for him. I recommend that you hurry, though. You will be safe there. Just try not to make eye contact. It will be over soon. They will lose interest.
So as you heard, you must hide from these creepy little kid animatronics. We saw these teased a while back. So, wait a minute. The series started with animatronics possessed by children. Now we have actual kid animatronics? Wow. Now if we can just get one of the animals to possess one of the animatronic children, then we can say that we've come full circle. Anyway, I digress. So as you hide, you'll hear the children taunt and tease you. They try to pry open the door, but once you figure out how to click and hold the door, then it's pretty easy. Still creepy though. When the system comes back online, you must manually switch the breakers, but in order to get there, you must first get through Ballora Gallery. If you haven't played the game yet and still want to, then be forewarned. I am going to cover some minor spoilers. Ballora is one of the newer animatronics, human in nature and nearly 7 feet tall. To get past her, you must walk slowly and stop when you hear her music playing nearby. One of the creepiest parts of the game, to me anyway, is when you get to the end of the corridor and see Ballora's tall silhouette spinning in front of you. It's always nice actually seeing the animatronics move. Reminds me of the slow, creepy Freddy limping around from FNAF 3. Once in the breaker room, you must quickly restore power to the facility while trying not to be mutilated by Funtime Freddy. Doesn't sound like a fun time to me. You have to flip back and forth from keeping Freddy at bay and restoring power on your tablet, which is a nice callback to the older games. Oh, and believe it or not, we finally hear what Freddy Fazbear sounds like. Okay, so not exactly what I was expecting. I don't know, I was thinking he had more of a Barney-like voice, like, "Hey kids, don't you want some pizza?" Ah, never mind. Ah! No wonder kids are so terrified by Freddy. And speaking of, on night 3, you get up close and personal with the man, bear himself. You must disconnect Funtime Freddy's power module. Sounds simple enough, right? Okay, not really. But before you can even do that, you must first get through the Funtime Gallery. Since Ballora was built with audio detection, then Funtime Foxy must be built with visual detection. Naturally. Because game, that's why. Using a sensor beacon, you must get past Funtime Foxy, which we find out is the original Mangle. We'll discuss this in the Easter egg section. I just had to mention it since Mangle is probably my favorite character of the series. Roll the footage! The difficulty definitely gets kicked up a notch here. Once you make it out of the Funtime Gallery, you must remove the power modules off of Freddy and the Bonnie puppet. Bonbon can be a little tricky, so to hit the switch, shine your flashlight away just long enough for the puppet to pop up. Exit through the Fun Time Gallery once again, and you unexpectedly begin Night 4. Now, like I said earlier, these games get repetitive, and for a spin-off, I was expecting different gameplay. But I will give credit where credit is due. Rather than catching up with soap operas, Night 4 is different, creative, and challenging as hell. You awake in a Springtrap suit. Okay, so not the Springtrap suit, but apparently a similar model. The female voice that we assume to be Circus Baby becomes a lot more passive-aggressive towards you. At first, she seems like she's helping you through the game, but it's not until Night 4 you realize everything might not be as it seems. You'll hear two technicians talking before sending in a broken Ballora. Being stuck in this spring suit, you must balance wiggling and resetting the spring locks for 3 of the longest minutes of your life. I have heard that this night has since been patched, so it might not be as difficult as it originally was. Basically, to survive the night, you have to wait for Ballora's little friends, the mini-renas, to climb up your suit as high as they can before you wiggle. Every time you do wiggle, you loosen the spring locks. So you see the paradox here. If not done correctly, either your suit will snap shut or you will get killed by one of these creepy little bastards. Many may notice the similarities between the mini-renas and a series favorite, the puppet. Or marionette, just depends on what you want to call them. Night 5 is when you really begin to notice the game's patterns. This night is very similar to Night 3, where you must once again get past the Fun Time Gallery and work on Baby, much like you had to do with Fun Time Freddy earlier. This, ironically, is the first and last time you see Circus Baby in the entire game. Not counting the mini-games, of course. It's really ironic considering she is supposed to be the main focus of the game. Most of the teaser images feature her, and the game is called Sister Location after all. I give a lot of the credit to voice actress Heather Masters. She brought the character of Circus Baby to life. Her great line delivery helped carry the game, and you wouldn't expect this to be the only time where you actually see her. Well done. One extremely disturbing moment from Night 5 is when you first return back to work. You're back at the job, you go check on the animatronics, but when you turn on the lights, you'll see the silhouettes of who we believe to be the 2 technicians from the night before. I'll leave off with Night 5 right here because I've already spoiled a lot, but there are still people who haven't played it. I hope this video helps explain a little and helps you get through some of the tougher areas. In the next edition, I'll pick up right where I left off and cover spoilers, Easter eggs, and theories. I've already talked about the backstory and lore earlier, but before I go, I would like to briefly talk about what is canon and what is not. Supposedly. According to Scott Cawthon, FNAF 1 through 4 are canon. FNAF World is its own meta-universe. The book Five Nights at Freddy's The Silver Eyes is supposed to be its own special timeline. We assume Sister Location fits in with the Afton timeline from Silver Eyes, but as many of you know, Scott's outlook on canon can be pretty loose sometimes. We will discuss this more in the next edition. I am producing these episodes separately rather than splitting one production into 2 videos. So basically I can focus and find the newest Easter eggs and theories, which are literally popping up every day. This episode was meant to focus on the game itself, the backstory of how it came about, and its timeline. Overall, while I did enjoy the game for the most part, I guess I felt it wasn't as different as a lot of people made it out to be. Sure, nights 2 through 4 had their own unique events, but I guess it just felt like a bunch of mini-games in the same FNAF formula, just made to look different. It's not my favorite of the series, but if you're a fan and you followed this far, then you're going to want to check this one out too. I will go as far to say that the best addition of this game is the voice acting. Thanks to the great writing and excellent cast, it has just made the game that much creepier and gives us a lot more to discuss. Guess that's going to do it for me, folks. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Hi, I'm Mullet Mike with us on Full Screen Arcade saying, stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Did you know they made a new Five Nights at Freddy's? But oh no, it's Sister Location. It's a spin-off. It's Five Nights at Freddy's. Again! Turn the lights down, volume up, and journey to creep.
Are you ready for Freddy? Because I'm not! The Easter eggs are always fun, but the various theories is what can really leave you up at night. To begin, let's start with endings. Major spoiler alert. Go watch my other Sister Location video where I only do minor spoilers, I guess? On night 5, there are actually 2 endings. Many of you probably already know this, but for those who don't, when exiting the Funtime Gallery, instead of following Circus Baby's instructions, go forward and right. You're going to hear that a lot in this episode. Once you've beat the game completely, on the blueprint section of the extras menu, you will find a map layout. You'll notice that going forward and right will lead you to a private area, as opposed to the alternative. Night 5 is meant to confuse you. You don't know whether or not to trust Baby. If you do follow her instructions, she will lead you directly to the scooping room. It is here we learn of Circus Baby's true intentions. We technically also get the origin story of how Funtime Foxy got, well, mangled. If you paid close attention as Baby is giving directions, she tries to depict Ballora as the threat. But if you think about it, the broken Ballora was taken to the scooping room on night 4. She's laying right there!
Oh, Ballora.
Who is the threat in the other room then? Is it the new animatronic, Ennard? More on him in a bit. Once scooped, a silhouette can be seen in the mirror. The eyes open, revealing a purple hue. Another reason gamers believe you're playing as Afton because, well, in the book, he's revealed to be the purple guy. This is known as the red ending. We'll discuss the blue ending in a bit. But how about some Easter eggs in the meantime? The boop your nose Easter eggs return in this game, this time with a creepier twist. You could always click the nose of some posters or figures in the other games, but in Sister Location, it's these creepy kids' faces. And they don't go boop. Not just that, but click on this guy's nose. Oh my god! It's Ennard. This whole time. And evil was just staring us right in the face. Not just that, but Scott's games have always had little inconsistencies or rare occasions when it comes to Easter eggs. For example, when I played Night 5 right before the scooping room, I didn't notice at the time. But after I finished the game and went over the footage, I noticed the mask was missing. Some people have said this isn't always the case. Speaking of inconsistencies, Creepy Gaming Viewer and The Desk sent me a screen grab of one of these rare Easter eggs. We see Funtime Foxy, aka Mangle's head, hanging in Ennard's place. The glowing eyes only make it more eerie. All better. As far as the small Easter eggs go, there is a nice reference to Balloon Boy in the Circus Gallery. He can be seen hanging in the top left by whatever the hell this is. I didn't know if it was him or JJ at first, but pretty sure it's BB himself. Balloon Boy was a bit of an oddity at first because at the time, all the animatronics were animals. After playing Sister Location, we now understand where the human-like animatronics came from. This game actually answers a lot of questions and confirms many theories with its Easter eggs. That I will give it credit for. For example, in Night 1, you'll hear Hand Unit tell you this.
Please enter your name as seen above the keypad. This cannot be changed later. It seems that you had some trouble with the keypad.
Wait. The name as seen above the keypad? Now don't get me wrong, I noticed the name Mike above. Obviously. But I didn't hear that part of the dialogue. The only Mike we know from the series is Mike Schmidt from the first game. We can only assume it's him. Let me save you some trouble. If you haven't read the novel Five Nights at Freddy's The Silver Eyes, it reveals that William Afton uses the alias of Dave Miller, as well as a few others. There's a fan theory going around that Mike Schmidt and even Fritz from FNAF 2 was really Afton all along using another alias. There are always two sides to the same coin. Some gamers still don't think we play as Afton because Circus Baby says, quote, "I don't recognize you." Remember though, later in the game she also admits that she's gotten really good at pretending too. With Baby's passive-aggressive behavior, it's hard to tell if what she says is really what she means. Another Easter egg that helps answer a question or two is the lamp. When I first saw the soap opera scenes, I didn't think much of it. Off to your right, you may notice this lamp as well as the home's older decor. The same lamp can be seen from the house in FNAF 4. That's because they are the same home. That means... Yep. Now that a few minds have been blown, let me try to explain. In the secret ending, rather than following Baby's instruction of forward and left, go forward and right, like I said earlier. You're gonna hear this a lot. If you successfully beat the death minigame and distribute the cupcakes properly, then you'll have access to the private room. Now you know we're going down the rabbit hole. If you look at the extras on the menu screen, you can find a layout of the sister location. The same map layout can be seen on Night 2 during Freddy's only appearance in the game. Here we can see what is labeled Private Room. Forward and right. I'll say it again. Forward and right will lead you there. Once inside, it's like playing a classic game of FNAF. It really takes you back. It's surprisingly fun. What's not fun is what you discover. This private room was believed to be William Afton's secret personal office. If you type 1983 on the keypad in the center, the three monitors will come on. You will notice the monitors displaying live feed of the house from FNAF 4. So it is canon with the other games. We also see a golden Fredbear plush. This explains a lot. Originally, we thought the Fredbear was possessed, talking with a young child, or at least the young child was thinking he was talking to a Fredbear. The eyes followed you wherever you walked. The silver eyes. The multiple Fredbears were surveillance cameras. This leads to another popular theory, but before I go into what I call the Afton family theory, let's finish talking about the secret ending first. We gotta stay in line here. We gotta keep things in order. It's easy to go off the track with this. So once you make it to 6 a.m., like the classic games, you complete your shift and head home to finish watching your soap opera. Always wondered what these in-between scenes meant. The only Easter egg or reference that I gather was that Clara burned down Vlad's house, much like the haunted attraction burns down in Night 5 of FNAF 3. But like I said, we have to stay in order here. We'll be here all day just talking about the other games alone. While watching Vlad and Clara fight it out, a figure slowly shuffles in the room from the right side. It's Ennard. I don't know if this was supposed to be creepy or funny, because Ennard looks a little derpy right here. Hey kids, don't you want some pizza? This is what is referred to as the blue ending. Mainly because the end is now in a blue font rather than the red from the scooping room ending. I think myself and most people agree that the red ending is the real ending. The true ending. The canon ending. If you brighten up the blue ending, you can actually see the words fake ending. This wouldn't be too far-fetched though, considering game creator Scott Cawthon's track record of hiding images in the dark backgrounds. Look at this teaser for the game. Brighten it up and boop! Mini arenas! Even the teaser images of the game has its own Easter eggs. Damn! This is getting meta. Another great Easter egg, this one actually in the game, is on night 3. I think a lot of people already know about this one, but I'd probably get called out if I didn't at least mention it. If you go to Circus Gallery on night 3, you will hear this chilling monologue from Circus Baby.
Did you know that I was on stage once? It wasn't for very long, only one day. What a wonderful day, though. I was in a small room with balloons and a few tables. No one sat at the tables, though, but children would run in and out. Some were afraid of me, others enjoyed my songs. Music was always coming from somewhere else, down a hall. I would always count the children, I'm not sure why. I was always acutely aware of how many there were in the room with me. 2, then 3, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 2, then none. They usually played together in groups of 2 or 3. I was covered in glitter. I smelled like birthday cake. There were 2, then 3, then 5, then 4. I can do something special. Did you know that? I can make ice cream. Although I only did it once. There were 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Something happened when there was 1. A little girl, standing by herself. I was no longer myself, and I stopped singing. My stomach opened, and there was ice cream. I couldn't move, at least, not until she stepped closer. There was screaming for a moment, but only for a moment. Then other children rushed in again, but they couldn't hear her over the sounds of their own excitement. I still hear her sometimes. Why did that happen?
In between nights, we hear who we presume to be the voice of Afton's daughter, the girl that Circus Baby was built for and modeled after. We hear her in between nights pleading with her father to see her, but he is reluctant. So look at her dialogue, death minigame, and the creepy Circus Baby Easter egg from night 3, and we can safely say that the daughter was killed by Baby. This is where the Afton family theory I mentioned earlier comes in. So let's just say we do play as William Afton in Sister Location. Everybody else who has worked at these places met a tragic demise, but if William Afton really was Fritz and even Mike Schmidt, it would explain how he was able to survive all 5 nights in these games. He is the purple guy. If you think about it, FNAF 3, you're being chased by Springtrap. Who is the purple guy? Even Baby asked him why he would come to a place like this. That's because he's familiar with most of it. Or at least he thinks he is. That just leaves one other game, FNAF 4. The Afton family theory is that the poor child from FNAF 4 was the son of William Afton. This would explain the surveillance equipment and the secret ending. If you look at the map layout, you'll notice that the extra rooms are really the rooms from Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Hell, we even restored power to them! So, if this is the case, let's look at a family tree. We have Papa Afton, okay, there's the supposed son, then there's his daughter. So the title's sister location is a double entendre. It really does have two meanings. This would explain the mysterious unused girls' room from the house in FNAF 4. Not only that, but it would also explain the mysterious mangle, or should I say, the broken Funtime Foxy. In the book, Afton's business partner, Henry, built the original animatronics we all love and hate. Maybe this would help explain the human-like animatronics. Henry built the animal designs, while William Afton eventually developed the human models. Oh, this is getting convoluted. Who was Balloon Boy modeled after then? Their twice-removed smelly cousin or something? Anyway, stay on point. You gotta stay in line when it comes to FNAF, Mikey. You got this. Stay on point. Like always, I do not claim to have come up with all of these theories. Thanks to everyone who has sent stuff in. Your response has been really overwhelming. It's really cool and I do appreciate it. That being said, let me add my own spin to the Afton family theory. So we have Afton, his daughter who died, his son who, well, let's face it, probably died. But what about the older brother? You know, the one who bullied and eventually fed his sibling to a golden Fredbear? Where does he fit in? Can we expect the next title to be about him? Or perhaps that FNAF movie we've been hearing about for so long? This made me think about the cameras in Sister Location. Being watched is a theme in this game. The whole series, really, but this one especially. Who is behind the cameras? Is Big Brother really watching? Now, I understand that because of the convoluted timeline and this being yet another prequel that the brother probably doesn't have anything to do with the cameras. I'm just letting you know these are the aspects we should look into. Maybe we really are playing as the older brother in FNAF 4. The minigames are him feeling regret for what he did to his little brother. The nightmare animatronics haunt him. Afton has already lost one son to Golden Fredbear and his daughter to Circus Baby. Maybe he's been watching his last child for his own safety while at work. Just another theory. Just, you know, some food for thought. Mull it around a little bit. Heh, I said mullet. That's the fun part of these games to me. Just start theorizing. Anything's possible in FNAF lore. I took Scott's statement regarding canon to mean that not everything has to fit in as a perfect puzzle piece. He insists narrative is more important, and I agree. Storytelling is way more important than every single little thing fitting together. It kind of confirms what I've been saying all along. What's important is to keep certain things open-ended to leave fans theorizing. We as gamers should be happy though, because Sister Location reveals a lot, especially if you believe in the Afton family theory. This game is basically the origin of Purple Guy, if you think about it. I'm glad I made these videos as two separate productions, because when we released the last Sister Location video, the game has slowly began to win me over. I still stand by what I said, it's not my favorite, but I've got to give it the credit it deserves. Another interesting thing is this game is still fairly new, and I have a feeling there is a ton of Easter eggs and maybe even another ending that we just don't even know about yet. I couldn't help but notice all the different keypads throughout the game. I guess, much like the lockbox, only time will tell. And speaking of, I've got to wrap this up because I can and have talked about this forever. Before I'd go, I'd like to leave you with one more random creepy Easter egg and a theory for you folks to discuss in the comments. You know, give a little something to you fine folks who've stuck around this long. This is random, okay, but creepy as hell. Again, in the extras, in the blueprint section, you can actually see children stuffed in most of the animatronics themselves. Kinda makes you rethink this scene from the last game. We all thought it was an employee, but now, looking at the big eyes, is Purple Guy stuffing a kid in the suit? Scott, you done it again. Well done, sir. Kudos. Kudos indeed. Here's the theory I want to leave you guys with. FNAF 4 and Sister Location really tie together, more so than I'd say the other games. Again, I can't take credit for this theory, I just want to know what you guys think. The briefcase at the end of FNAF 4 has still left many gamers scratching their heads. There were 2 locks on the box. Now that we know that Fredbear and Friends was owned and ran by both Henry and the notorious William Afton, is it possible that each had their own key to the box? A key to their own personal locks. Something in there so bad that no one man could be trusted with? Just something to think about. Sleep well, folks.
Either way, Scott Cawthon has still somehow managed to pull a game out of his ass. Again, love him or hate him, Scott Cawthon was able to continue the series and only raise more questions, which is what he's pretty good at after all. Either way, I think that's going to do it for us today, folks. I truly hope you enjoyed. Hi, I'm Mullet Mike Hardcastle with the Battleland Full Screen Arcade saying keep stay creepy. Thanks for watching, folks. Peace! I like another one. Let's do another one. I didn't like that piece. Did you? Let's do a better piece. Peace!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, freaks and geeks, and I know you've been waiting for it, trolls and derps alike, welcome. Welcome all. I am Mullet Mike Hardcastle with the Paddle Gaming Network and Full Screen Arcade, bringing you a very important creepy gaming extra. Alright, so, wow, yeah, talk about timing. So if you haven't caught them already, I just released 2 Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Location videos, the latter being a theory video, which, personally, I thought I nailed it. And there was quite a bit I got correct, which we'll touch on here in a bit. But literally, after my last video, Scott Cawthon released Custom Night. And I could be mistaken, maybe Custom Night was released either the day before or the day of my video. Either way, when the video was released, I didn't have the time to play Custom Night, or at least didn't even get to check to see what it was all about. Now you're going to have to forgive me because I am not reading off a script, I'm just kind of free-flowing this one, so bear with me on this. But in this creepy gaming extra, we will talk about a few new characters, we'll talk about the Custom Night itself, we'll talk about the different mini-games, we'll talk about Scott's, version of canon, I guess we'll say. We're going to talk about the Purple Guy cutscenes, and I will be showing you the game's final cutscene, which really reveals a lot. Alright, before we get started, I just want to make a few small corrections to my previous video. First up, I noticed a lot of people commented and said that the circus baby voice was really entered. And you know what? I agree with you. I'm man enough to admit it. No shame in my game. But I will say this, I feel like it does start out as Circus Baby, and you eventually, throughout the nights, Ennard is, to me, it's like an amalgamation of all the different animatronics form
into Enter. And that's why, like, Baby says things like, I don't feel like myself anymore, and things of that nature. But anyways, on to Custom Night. So once you finally beat Five Nights at Freddy's sister location, just below the extras menu that we mentioned oh so much about last time, there is a new Custom Night option. Basically, you're playing a Five Nights at Freddy's type game inside the secret room that we have found. There are 8 mini-games to choose from and assorted difficulties. There's Funtime Frenzy, Dolls Attack, Girls Night, Weirdos, Top Shelf, Bottom Shelf, Cupcake Challenge, and last but not least, Golden Freddy Mode. Now what was this supposed to mean, Okay, so does everybody remember the 2020-2020 mode from Five Nights at Freddy's 1? Okay, so it's like that, but the Golden Freddy Night is more like, I don't know, 1020 mode. Now, since again I don't have this scripted out, I'm not going to break down what each night is. That's part of the fun, is getting to figure it out. Not only that, but when you select the night, you can kind of hover over each character's face and it'll tell you like what their action is, so you'll kind of know what to expect. It is pretty neat because, as I mentioned earlier, there are new animatronics in Custom Night. There's Yendo, Bonnet, Electrobab, and Lolbit. I know who Lolbit is now, okay? I'm sorry. Another thing I'd like to correct real quick is this image that you see right here, I personally thought was a Funtime Foxy head. Well, a lot of you folks let me know that I was incorrect, and that was in fact Lolbit. But I am going to go ahead and just say this. Honest mistake. Look at these two. Alright? I mean, it'd be one thing if I got like Balloon Boy and Springtrap confused, but come on. Now, of course, the game's developer, Scott Cawthon, is going to tell all of us that this is not canon. Sure, they're not canon, whatever. But you cannot deny the mini-games. I mean, they have to be. Why even put them in? Which, they're really not even mini-games at this point. They're really just cutscenes. But if you beat enough mini-games on the very hard difficulty, then you will unlock these purple guy cutscenes. You can see it right here. We see who we believe to be the purple guy, just strolling down the street. Figured Ennard's just enjoying his new body. Everybody's waving. Hey, how's it going? You know, nobody notices anything. But as you continue playing and see more of these cutscenes, you begin to notice things. His skin begins to deteriorate, starts discoloring. You'll notice a few people in the background refuse to wave. They're more confused than anything. I think I would be too. Then to top things off, notice this final cutscene. People are now hiding behind their houses. He is fully transformed into the purple guy. And then this happens.
You won't die. 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 You won't die.
After seeing this, you can't help but assume that Endo has left the purple guy. Not only that, but we hear a voice. We then see purple guy get back up, and that's it. Now what exactly does this mean? Hell if I know at this point. Before I go any further, major spoiler alert. I just said that slow so people would have time to click off the video if they need to. Now here's the real kicker, and probably the most important aspect of the custom nights. If you can somehow beat
Golden Freddy mode on very hard, you will get this cutscene.
Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be. They were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you. And I found her. I put her back together, just like you asked me to. She's free now. But something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not. I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you.
Now, since the footage was so dark, allow me to lighten it up right here at the very tail end and just play for you this part again, just very slowly. Yes, that is Springtrap. And if you look closely in the background, you will also notice a Fazbear's Fright sign. Oh, Scott, you bastard. He got me. I will admit it. Last episode, I could have swore up and down we were playing as William Afton. Hell, everybody thought we were playing as William Afton. But it ends up we are playing as some interesting character named Michael. Michael Afton, his son. Now, if I may take you back to my previous video. So we have Afton, his daughter who died, his son who, well, let's face it, probably died. But what about the older brother? You know, the one who bullied and eventually fed his sibling to a golden Fredbear? Where does he fit in? Can we expect the next title to be about him? I'm just letting you know these are the aspects we should look into. Boom! Nailed it! I said it. I called it. I even said, could we be playing as him in the next game? Which looks like could be a very viable option at this point. And if you're confused, please refer back to my Five Nights at Freddy's videos I just released within the last 2 weeks. I don't want to have to go back over all that. So yes, we are playing as Michael Afton, the son of William Afton. And if you are following the Afton family theory, then this would be the big brother from Five Nights at Freddy's 4. The dialogue even says at the beginning, they thought I was you. That's why Circus Baby didn't recognize him. The puzzle pieces seem to be coming together, but not without raising more questions. Like, were there 2 purple guys? Again? Is that back? Is that theory back now? Now, I understand a lot of people are confused about this timeline, myself included. But I did notice Michael saying this.
I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now.
Not only that, but if you look at the background more, it looks like a burnt Fazbear's Fright. The place looks hollowed out. It looks grungier and dirtier than ever. Granted, it was pretty dank in FNAF 3, but I mean, here it does look burned down. This would also explain why we see Springtrap's photo at the end of FNAF 3. So, what do you guys think? Is this going to be the next installment in the Five Nights at Freddy series? Let me know in the comments. You know I love hearing y'all's theories, so I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say. Well, I think that's going to do it for me on this Creepy Gaming Extra. I really hope you enjoyed this kind of off-the-cuff video. If you would like more videos like this, be sure to leave them in the comments right by the theories, because really, honestly, it didn't take near as long to produce this video as it does a typical Creepy Gaming episode. Before I go, very special sticky shout out to Gage the Gamer. I will leave his channel link in the description below. I am man enough to admit it. I did not beat 1020 mode, Golden Freddy, Custom Night, whatever the hell you want to call it. There's just no way. I'm not saying it's not possible, because it is. It obviously is, or else we wouldn't have this wonderful cutscene. But, God, I'm sorry. It's the holidays, and I don't have that much free time on my hands. I wish I did. But there you have it, folks. No more FNAF for a while. I just can't. I just can't. I'm tapping out. I'm tapping out, Coach. No more theorizing right now. I'm going to leave that to you fine folks. And please, again, put your theories down in the comments, and I will at least read them, because even though I'm not going to produce any more Five Nights at Freddy's videos, at least until the next game, which will probably be in a month and a half, I do at least want a few questions answered. Namely, timeline and purple guy. But there you have it, folks. I again hope you enjoyed this quick, thrown together, impromptu video. I had to. I just had to after finding out what I have found out this past week. Besides, I got a lot of comments in my last video asking if I would cover Custom Night. So again, this one's for you fine folks. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to go enjoy my exotic butters as I listen to some casual bongos. I am Mullet Mike with a paddle in full screen saying, sticky, stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Happy holidays. Peace.